I trying to have a nice chat with Wang Laowu when this punk kid, the village chief's son, Wang Mingzi, rolls up and starts running his mouth like he's the emperor of trash talk. This little brat told me, and I quote the gist here, that he could do unspeakable things to my woman and I'd just have to take it. Bold words from a kid whose voice probably still cracks. Wang Laowu just stood there with his head down like a beaten dog. No spine whatsoever. I guess when your village chief's kid acts like a mini tyrant long enough, everyone just accepts it. But me? I don't accept it. I grabbed this little rooster by the neck and lifted him off the ground like a grocery bag. He's dangling there, still talking smack, threatening to wipe out my village, calling my people names, trying to order Wang Laowu to smack me from behind. Real comedian, this one. Wang Laowu's fists were shaking, but he didn't move. Smart man. For once. I kicked two guys who tried to rush me before they even got close, then dragged the kid across the ground like a mop and planted my foot in his stomach. He curled up like a boiled shrimp. Beautiful. I slapped him a couple times for good measure and tossed him aside like garbage. Come back when you've grown up, I told him. I'll still beat you with one hand. Then, because the universe apparently hates a quiet evening, screaming erupted everywhere. A crew of black-clad bandits burst out of the shadows, hacking at villagers with steel blades. 30 of them, at least. Archers, too, picking off runners like it was target practice. Dozens of villagers dropped in seconds. Their leader was some guy I'd actually seen before, a disguised man I'd crossed paths with once. These weren't your average highway robbers. These guys fought harder than Turkic soldiers I'd faced, seriously overqualified for mountain banditry. I yelled at Wang Laowu to protect his family instead of charging in like an idiot. He almost ran straight at the bandits with a firewood knife. I had to threaten to abandon him permanently before his brain rebooted and he turned around. And then, you won't believe this, the punk kid Wang Mingzi actually impressed me. After his entire posse of followers scattered like roaches, this little maniac picked up a hoe off the ground, screamed every curse word ever invented, and charged the bandits solo. An archer put an arrow in his shoulder. He kept going. A bandit kicked him so hard he coughed blood and hit the dirt twitching. He got back up, eyes red, howling like a rabid animal, ready to fight again. I shook my head. Wrong era, kid. If he'd been born in my time, I'd have kicked him 20 times a day and maybe forged him into something real. Meanwhile, Wang Laowu's wife was beating him with a stick, chasing him back toward me, screaming that he was useless, that if something happened to me, it'd be on his conscience, that she'd rather die fighting beside me than let her husband be a coward. I thought, this man married way above his pay grade. I told them both to get lost downhill, then vanished into the darkness. The archer was watching me, and then suddenly I wasn't there anymore. She panicked, started shouting warnings to her boss, Leopard. Too late. I popped up right in front of Leopard like a ghost and unloaded my shotgun point blank. Turned him into a colander. He hit the ground with a face that said, "This wasn't in the plan," disappeared again. Found the female archer in a tree nearby. "Hey, over here," I called out cheerfully. She looked up. Bang. Good night. Her last arrow flew wild and landed right next to Wang Mingzi's crotch. That kid screamed louder than he did during the whole battle. I hopped down next to him, gave him a kick, and said, "Get lost. You're in the way of my killing." After dropping their leader and the archer, I figured the rest of these bandits would panic and scatter. Nope. These psychos actually regrouped and all came charging at me. Like 10+ guys with sharp objects, running at me with murder eyes. Wang Mingzi, the mouthy kid, finally discovered his survival instincts. Didn't even need me to yell at him this time. He just hit the ground and rolled away like a startled hedgehog. Good boy. Some bandits were too scared to get close, so they just threw their weapons at me. Creative, I'll give them that. Stupid, but creative. I dove behind a dead tree, lined up my shotgun, and blasted steel pellets into a whole cluster of them. Faces, chests, didn't matter. Their tight formation suddenly had some very permanent gaps in it. I kept moving, reloading, finding cover, shooting. Rinse and repeat. They had numbers, but I had a gun and the ability to not stand still like an idiot. By the time Wang Mingzi rallied the village men and came back with their farming tools ready for war, I was already looting corpses. Now here's the thing. Everyone thought I looked calm and cool, casually stripping dead bandits of their weapons, money, clothes, even their underwear. I left nothing. But the truth? I wasn't calm at all. My hands were shaking the whole time. I was just too broke to let fear get between me and free stuff. Poverty is a powerful motivator. Wang Mengzi took one good look at the battlefield. All those mangled bodies, went pale, collapsed, and started puking his guts out. Then every single guy behind him started puking too. A few wet their pants and passed out. It was like a vomiting domino effect. Beautiful teamwork, really. The old village chief showed up, checked his son wasn't dead, then bowed deeply to me. Called me a hero. Said I saved their village even after they'd been idiots about going up the mountain. Then the whole village started kowtowing. Hundreds of people, on their knees, banging their heads on the ground for me. Super awkward. I was trying to finish looting, and they made it weird. I had to abandon like a dozen unstripped bandit corpses because it felt wrong to undress dead people while grandmas were crying and thanking me. The things I sacrifice. Some of the newly widowed women started looking at me with ideas. Apparently word was out that my village was full of widows. Their husbands were now dead, and I was strong enough to solo 30 bandits. I could practically hear their brains calculating. Then Sukin showed up with his beggar army, looked at the carnage, gave me a thumbs up. Old Yi, you're an absolute beast. His beggars all stared at me like I was a god. Before this, they wanted to buddy up with me for food and maybe marry some of my village widows. Now they were thinking bigger. If this guy protects us, nobody will ever bully beggars again. Wang Mengzi had his moment of enlightenment. Walked straight up to me, dropped to his knees, and started slapping himself in the face while apologizing. Hard. His cheeks turned purple. His dad tried to stop him, but he screamed, "Don't stop me. My savior hasn't forgiven me yet." I grabbed his arm and told him having pride is fine. Just don't be an arrogant moron about it. He nodded eagerly and said he'd change. Internally, though, I could tell this kid was thinking, "You're my big bro now, so I'll behave around you." Everyone else can still catch these hands. Some people never fully reform. The old village chief tried to take credit for helping me kill the bandits so the government would reward them. Wang Mengzi actually yelled at his own father, "Dad, have some shame. Big bro, you killed them all by himself. You want rewards? Just follow him loyally, and he'll take care of us." The old man instantly agreed. Fastest political realignment I've ever seen. Then, just as I was happily stripping a female bandit's pants off for the fabric people, I heard a scream from the distance. "Big brother." My little sister Xiaoning came sprinting through the darkness. She tracked me down using our big white cat as a search dog. How? She grabbed my used socks and made the cat sniff them. The cat literally vomited, almost died from the smell, but still managed to point in my direction. Loyal creature. Traumatized, but loyal. Xiaoning checked every inch of me for injuries, then noticed what I was doing. Looting corpses, stripping clothes, stuffing my backpack like Santa on opposite day. She was mortified, then amazed when I handed her a gold bracelet I'd pulled off the female bandit's wrist. Her eyes went wide seeing my bag stuffed with treasure. Sukin told her how I'd killed all the bandits solo. Xiaoning puffed up with pride and announced that she didn't need a strong brother to protect her from future in-laws because she'd just beat them up herself. I went pale. This kid talks like that. How am I ever going to marry her off? Word travels fast when you're a one-man army, apparently. While I was busy undressing dead bandits, for economic reasons, every village within walking distance grabbed their pitchforks and came running, hoping to get a piece of the action. Too late, losers. By the time they showed up, the only action left was watching me stuff gold into my backpack like a raccoon raiding a dumpster. You could see the envy oozing out of their eyeballs. Every single one of them was doing math in their heads. Not the, "how do we survive the famine" kind of math. No. The, "Yidu has money and lives in a village full of lonely widows" kind of math. Every dude there was mentally inserting himself into my life, imagining what it'd be like to be surrounded by hundreds of beautiful, husbandless women with a bag full of gold. I could practically hear their fantasies from where I was standing. One guy piped up about how he'd always said I was the real deal, a battlefield veteran with legendary skills. "Sure you did, buddy." I smiled and said, "Thanks for the tall hat. But let me be clear, if anyone talks trash about my village again, they'll answer." To me, Cripple's son jumped in with the flattery. "Who'd dare mess with you after seeing this?" He waved at the field of dead bandits like a game show host. I wasn't having it. "Oh really?" "Because plenty of you were spying on me. following my movements, planning to ambush me and steal my stuff. You think I didn't notice? Every head in the crowd dropped simultaneously, like a synchronized guilt Olympics. Gold medal for everyone. Sukan, my beggar village buddy, read the room perfectly. He pulled Cripple Sun aside and launched into his rehearsed performance. Oh, village chief ye, we're so hungry. Life is so hard. Can't you help us, poor souls? Beautiful acting. 5 stars. We'd basically worked this out already. Why don't you come work for me then? I said, like the idea just occurred to me. If I can feed a whole village of women, I can feed you bunch of men too. Sukan's eyes lit up like I'd just proposed marriage. Really? We'll follow you forever. Then he cranked it up louder. But when though? Our bellies are hungry now. Classic pressure move. The crowd got excited. Here's where my genius kicked in. I could see everyone's real motivation written on their faces. They wanted a cut of my loot without doing any actual work. Fat chance. There's no free lunch in the apocalypse. I put on my, oh fine, you twisted my arm, face and laid out my grand plan. You've all seen what I can do. One man, 30 plus bandits, no problem. Now imagine if I had 30 to 50 trained fighters under me. We form a bounty hunting squad. Every bandit in these mountains becomes walking cash. Sukan immediately performed his, wow what a genius idea, routine, volunteering his beggar village on the spot. Oscar-worthy. Wang Mingzi, the kid I'd beaten up earlier, started violently coughing to get attention, then literally kicked his village's young men in the butt toward me. Are you all cowards? Big bro Yi is offering you jobs. Get over there and kowtow. The village chief from Wei Family Hollow saw right through our little performance. He knew Sukan and I were doing a two-man con job, but he also knew I was genuinely terrifying, so he stepped up and pledged his village too. Smart man. You can see through the trick and still benefit from it. I laid down my terms. Each village feeds their own men, proper meals, meat and eggs included. They train at my village, no going home without permission. Bounty splits 40-60, 40% mine, 30% split among the fighters by merit, 30% to their home villages. Everyone agreed instantly. After watching Wang Family Village's disaster of a DIY bandit hunt and seeing everyone else's intelligence-gathering adventures end in nothing, they finally understood. If you want to eat this meal, you need Chef Yidu. Of course, not everyone was on board. Some big village chiefs and clan leaders turned their noses up and walked off, mocking me. 3 to 50 men? How pathetic. Our family alone can mobilize hundreds. Yeah, and your hundreds would get massacred by a dozen real bandits. But sure, keep that energy. Wang Laowu was about to charge after the hecklers, but his wife grabbed him by the collar, again, and whispered the smartest thing anyone said all night. Forget those idiots. You go kowtow to our savior. He's saved us more than once now. Without him tonight, you'd be dead. And if you're dead, this whole family is finished. You understand? That woman is genuinely running that household. Wang Laowu just doesn't know it yet. As for me, I was already thinking bigger. This little village is just a pit stop on my journey, not the destination. I need muscle. I need an organization. And the fastest way to build power is through trained fighters. Once I put these guys through my personal boot camp and throw them into real combat against outlaws, I could already picture how dangerous they'd become. The bounty hunting squad was born, and business was about to boom. Wang Laowu threw himself flat on the ground like a human pancake and offered me his entire life. Literally. His wife told him, a drop of kindness deserves an ocean of repayment, and he decided the ocean wasn't enough, so he'd just hand over his whole existence. I told him to get up and called him, brother. You'd think I gave him a kidney. His eyes went wide, his jaw dropped, and everyone around us suddenly started looking at him differently. One word, brother. And this guy who'd been treated like dirt his whole life was ready to die for me on the spot. Sukan watched this happen and almost laughed. He knew exactly what I was doing because I pulled the same move on him years ago when we were kids. Some tricks are classics for a reason. After the crowd broke up, I gave 30% of the bandit loot to Wang Family Village for their losses. They practically worshipped me. Sukan's beggar crew hauled the dead bandits back to my village, and my mom was thrilled to see Sukan. He was always the other people's kid. She compared me to growing up. She immediately ordered my oldest sister Xiao to prepare food and drinks. Xiao was graceful and proper, serving tea like a lady. Meanwhile, my 2 youngest sisters saw the pile of corpses stacked outside in carts and turned white as ghosts. Couldn't squeeze a word out of them. Sukin plopped down at the table, kicked cripple Sun away from the peanuts, and gave me that look. So about my payment, look. He knew his beggars probably couldn't pass selection for my bounty squad, so he was angling to lock down the grunt work, hauling bodies, logistics, the unglamorous stuff. Smart hustler. I pushed him a bowl of wine. We clinked, and the deal was sealed. Here's where things got entertaining. My village is full of young women, right? And these beggar guys hadn't been near a woman in. Ever? They sat at dinner with their eyeballs glued to the window, watching village girls peek inside curiously. One by one, these guys got so excited that they couldn't sit in their chairs anymore. Every single one ended up squatting on the floor to eat. My little sister Xiao Ning was trying not to die laughing. I offered to let them sleep inside the village, but Su Kan, responsible leader that he is, had them grab firewood from my place and camp under a tree outside the village, sleeping under the open sky. Probably for the best. I didn't need a village full of lonely women and a camp full of desperately lonely men creating any incidents. I told Grandma's son, the night watch lady, to make sure the village women stayed indoors. Dead bodies everywhere. Don't want anyone getting scared. Then I grabbed a lantern and went out to patrol myself. Couldn't risk someone sneaking in to steal from the bandit corpses. That's when I found Wang Jia-yi hiding behind a tree. What are you doing out here this late? I scolded her, trying very hard to ignore how cute she looked in the moonlight. I was worried about you, she said softly. I heard you killed 30 bandits alone. That's too dangerous. In the future, please don't. She didn't finish that sentence because I grabbed her by the waist and pulled her into my arms. Her face went red as a tomato. She whispered that I shouldn't be so reckless, that she worries. What if something happened? What? We're practically a couple now, and you're still scared someone might see us, I teased. She called me a jerk and started lightly punching my chest. I pretended to be mortally wounded, hunching over going, ow wow, ow wow. She panicked instantly. Village chief brother, are you okay? I didn't mean to. Then she caught my grin and realized I was totally faking it. My hands were already exploring. She punched me again. I shut her up with a kiss. After we came up for air, she looked half unconscious. Honestly, she remembered something. Are you going to the city tomorrow? Yeah. Gotta collect the bounty on those bandits. Why? My little sister's chest wrappings are worn out. She's too embarrassed to ask anyone else. Could you buy some at the clothing shop? She tried to hand me copper coins. I pushed them back. If I take money from my future sister-in-law, she'll murder me. Then came the critical question. So, what size does your sister need? She thought hard, then turned crimson and held her hands against her own chest. Same as mine, I grinned. No wonder she can't ask anyone else. If the village gossips found out about that, it'd be chaos. All right, come here. Why? I put my hands right on the merchandise. She jumped backward. Stop. I'm leaving. I need to measure, I said with my most serious face. What if I buy the wrong size? The truth was I'd already memorized her exact dimensions and tattooed them on my heart. But she didn't know that. She thought I was being diligent and professional about it. She steeled herself like a warrior heading into battle, lifted her chin, and declared, Fine. Go ahead. Touch. Touch hard. You asked for it. Behold, the Yi family dragon claw technique. What followed was extensive research. We blew out the lantern and spent the next half hour doing quality control testing, plus additional kissing, until her legs gave out. As she finally stumbled home, she turned back one more time. My house is almost fixed up. After your city trip tomorrow, will you come over? I can't wait, I told Wang Jia-yi. She blushed so hard I thought she might catch fire, whispered, I'll be waiting for my husband to come home, and disappeared into the night. My heart did a little backflip. Next morning, business time. Su Kan and his beggar crew loaded up the bandit corpses onto carts, and we hit the road to the military garrison. Summer heat plus dead bodies equals. Well, imagine the worst smell you've ever experienced, then multiply it by 30-something rotting humans. Everyone was breathing through their sleeves. Thankfully, the road was decent, and we moved fast, because another hour, and we'd have been a biological weapon. Sukin rode on top of my ox cart like he was some kind of conquering general. People along the road stared at our corpse parade with their mouths hanging open. While other bounty hunters were still chasing one bandit, we rolled up with a whole truckload. Sukin was eating up the attention, chin raised, looking noble, as if he killed them all. This man's shamelessness is an art form. The garrison commander, Captain Li Kuai, came galloping out barefoot on horseback when he heard I was there. He laughed, inspected the bodies, recorded everything, and paid me the government bounty. Then came the real money. See, here's my little side hustle that nobody talks about. I sell military credit. These garrison officers are stuck in the middle of nowhere with zero combat opportunities. They need kills on their record to get promoted. Some of them are rich noble kids doing mandatory service, desperate for glory, wallets wide open. I provide the corpses, they provide the cash. Everybody wins. Except the dead bandits, I guess. A young officer named Pei Guang offered 20 strings of cash for the female bandit leader. Another officer, Chui Yu from the ultra-powerful Chui family, basically told him to sit down and shut up. 20? That's adorable. Then Chui Yu slid his hand into my sleeve. That's how you negotiate prices here, finger-talking, and offered to buy all the bodies at 15 per head. I leaned in and whispered, "Bro, I could sell these individually and collect favors from a dozen different officers." He whispered back, dead serious. All their favors combined aren't worth one favor from the Chui family. Also, please, I'm 35, I got exiled here for political trouble, and without military merit I'm finished. Fair point. We haggled, and he bought every single corpse at 20 strings each. Even generously gave one to Pei Guang for free. Classic rich family power move. Final score, 700 strings from Chui Yu, plus the government bounty. Grand total of 1,000 strings. That's over 800,000 copper coins. The beggars' eyeballs nearly fell out of their skulls. I handed out bonuses on the spot, 150 coins per beggar. The bounty hunters watching from the sidelines didn't care about the beggar money. They were staring at my fortune, each one thinking, I could do that too, which was exactly why I let them inside the garrison to watch. Free advertising. More bounty hunters means more business for the garrison officers, which means more business for me. I gave Captain Li Kuai 300,000 coins as his cut. You always grease the wheels. He was using it to feed his soldiers anyway, so I didn't feel bad. Then Li Kuai returned my village's debt papers. You've paid enough through various contributions. Consider the loan settled. I told him to keep the papers. We could collect them anytime. He grinned and said he'd guard them carefully. He warned me the bandits might have serious connections. They were wanted criminals from a completely different province. I shouldn't worry, though. The garrison bought the bodies and would handle any political fallout. Clean cut between me and the mess. Then came the awkward part. Li Kuai squinted at me and said, "Boy, you broke your virginity, didn't you? Your internal energy cultivation, years of work, and you threw it away? Without a special opportunity, your martial progress might stall forever." My face went nuclear red. "Sir, I'm at that age," he sighed, remembering his own youth, and waved me off. Fine. But remember, women are devils. You're young. Focus on training. Don't waste your golden years chasing skirts." Then this hypocrite grabbed a few strings of cash and headed for the door himself. I asked where he was going. "My old bones need therapeutic treatment. Scraping poison from the bones, you understand. Now leave, and don't gossip, or you'll pee into the wind." He was going to a brothel. The man who just lectured me about women being devils was sprinting to spend money on women. I bowed awkwardly and got out of there. After he left, his daughter Li Yi appeared at the stable, staring at the road I'd taken. "Dad, Yidu was here, and you didn't tell me." Li Kuai, frantically hiding his brothel money under his saddle. "Why would I? You said you didn't want to meet any of the soldiers who've been visiting. But Yidu is different, The captain rode off muttering about how I'd wasted my virginity, when I could have been cultivating martial arts and, more importantly in his mind, marrying into his family where his daughter could fuel my career like a 1,000-mile horse. Priorities, this man. I took the beggars to a restaurant to celebrate. Ordered every stir-fry dish on the menu. Senior beggars sat at the table. Junior ones squatted on the floor gnawing pork bones. I kept looking around the restaurant, waiting for some rich snob to insult us for being dirty peasants in a fancy establishment. That's how it always works in the stories, right? Nothing. Everyone was perfectly polite. A waiter even brought us warm water to wash our hands. Sukin laughed at my confusion. This dynasty's founder was a beggar himself before he became emperor. He killed everyone who mocked the poor. Nobody's dumb enough to look down on beggars anymore. What if one of us turns out to be the next emperor? Fair enough. After the meal, I pushed two massive chests of coins, about 100,000, across the table to Su Kan. For your village, he tried to refuse. The intel was sold to Wang family village. You intercepted the bandits yourself. We can't take this. Every beggar in the room was drooling at the money, swallowing hard, but not a single one reached for it. Disciplined bunch. I insisted. You provided the intelligence. You hauled corpses. You showed up to back me up. Take the money. Su Kan tried to refuse the money again. You don't have to do this, boss. You've got expenses, bribing officials, greasing wheels. Giving us this much is wasteful. Cripple Sun chimed in. Yeah, ye boss, we're beggars. Where would we even spend money? These idiots. I'm trying to pay them and they won't take it. There's a saying, the most loyal heroes are often the lowest born. Standing in that restaurant surrounded by filthy beggars with more honor than most nobles I've met, I actually got a little emotional. Just a little. Don't tell anyone. If you don't take this money, I said firmly, don't expect me to ever ask for your help again. That did it. Su Kan swept up the cash and declared, take the money, boys. From now on, Qinghe Village's business is our business. Even if it costs us our lives. I quickly corrected, nobody's dying. You're following me so you can get wives, get rich, and live well. I'm not sending you into danger. Cripple Sun cracked a grin. You make it sound like following you means tying our manhood to our belts. As if it's long enough for that, someone muttered. The whole table exploded laughing. Su Kan quietly shook his head at his boys. These fools think it's all fun and games. Real money requires real blood to protect. But he kept that thought to himself. I went shopping before heading home. Salt, rice, flour, oil, practical stuff. But also, underwear. Wang Jiayi's little sister needed chest wrappings, remember? Couldn't find anything decent in the city shops, so I dug into my secret merchant system and pulled out 2 silk undergarments. Nice ones. Cool and comfortable for summer. I also grabbed a set for Jiayi herself. The girl's still growing, and her old wrappings were basically strangling her development. As a concerned future husband, this was purely a medical investment. Su Kan stationed a dozen of his stronger beggars at my village permanently, begging on the roadside by day, patrolling by night. Free security. Not bad. Meanwhile, at some fancy inn 3 miles from the garrison, a scene I didn't witness was playing out. Some young military hotshot had been chasing those bandits I killed, all the way from another province. His squad lost over a dozen men and couldn't even scratch them. Then Zhao Zhu from the garrison casually strolled in and told him, "Oh, those bandits? All dead. You can pick up the bodies." The young officer nearly choked. Impossible. An entire garrison from Hunan province lost 100 men fighting these guys. You're telling me your backwater post? Zhao Zhu just smiled serenely. The officer demanded to know who did it. Zhao Zhu wouldn't say. The officer offered to give up all the military credit if they'd transfer this mystery warrior to his elite unit. Zhao Zhu's response: that'll cost you 50,000 coins for our garrison's development fund, and even then, good luck. This guy doesn't take orders well. The officer paid without blinking. Zhao Zhu walked out with my military file, whistling. As he left, he turned back. By the way, the person in that file? Bad temper. Talented people always have bad tempers, the officer said confidently. Just making sure you know what you're getting into. The officer opened my file, and his face went dark as a thundercloud. I knew nothing about any of this, of course. I was busy delivering underwear. Here, your chest wrappings. I pulled the silk garments from my sleeve and handed them to Jia-E at our secret meeting spot. She took one look and her face exploded red. Why do they look so scandalous? And why are there 2? Your old one's too small. I got you one too. You shouldn't waste money. But her fingers were already stroking the silk. Even back when her family was wealthy, she'd never seen fabric this nice. She was genuinely moved that I cared enough, and excited for her sister. Little sister is going to flip when she sees this. Then she grabbed my sleeve and dragged me toward her house. Mom said to bring you home today. Let's go. I literally just got back. I'm covered in road dust. Shouldn't I clean up? She looked me up and down and grinned. My man has natural elegance and devastating good looks. Cleanup is unnecessary. Shameless flattery. I loved every word of it. At the Wang family's little clinic on the west side of the village, Mama Wang was doing what she always did, treating patients for practically nothing while her younger daughter Shi grumbled about going bankrupt. Mama Wang was sticking acupuncture needles into some guy whose equipment. hadn't been working. The moment the needles went in, he perked up. My hands aren't cold anymore. My feet are warming up. The waiting patients cheered. Old song. You're making a comeback. Go home and make a baby tonight. While all this medical excitement was happening, she was in the back room grabbing herbs from the medicine cabinet. Suddenly, a grimy hand reached out toward her. What are you doing? She jumped back like a startled rabbit, barely dodging the grab. Some creep was standing there, grinning with all 3 of his remaining teeth. Pretty girl. I want you to be my wife. So I'm walking my future girlfriend to meet her mom for the first time, carrying rice, meat, fabric, and medicine like a delivery service with romantic intentions. When I hear screaming from the family clinic, I round the corner and find a huge guy with the brain of a toddler chasing my future sister-in-law around the medicine cabinet, drooling and yelling, "Pretty girl, be my wife," while grabbing at her chest like he was shopping for melons. His father, some pharmacist named Old Son from town, was standing at the front door blocking the exit, chatting loudly to cover the noise, looking smug as hell. This wasn't an accident. This old snake brought his mentally disabled adult son here on purpose to terrorize women. When Mother Wong tried to pull the big guy off, he swatted her aside like a fly. The village women showed up with sticks, but froze when they saw the size of this dude. He looked at the room full of women and grinned. "Daddy, so many women. I want them all too." "To what?" I said from the doorway, hand on my sword, with a dozen freshly bathed beggars standing behind me looking menacing. "Well, as menacing as ex-beggars can look. Sleep with me." Wrong answer, buddy. Old Son suddenly realized the situation had changed and tried to grab his son. Too late. I caught the big idiot's wrist, and then my hand went to work. Slap, 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 slap. I gave him about 15 across the face, knocked out 3 teeth, and turned his cheeks the color of eggplant. Military interrogation training. I know how to make it hurt without causing permanent damage. He crumpled into the corner whimpering like a puppy. Old Son lost his mind. "You can't hit people in broad daylight. I'll report you to the magistrate." "The magistrate?" "Go ahead." I kicked him in the stomach so hard he folded like a lawn chair. He hit the ground, making noises like someone was murdering a donkey. Snot, tears, the whole works. "My nephew is the county sheriff. You'll pay for this," he wheezed. "Oh, you're threatening me? With your nephew? After what you just pulled?" I beat him some more. Professionally. Then I threw both of them out the door and shouted after them. "Go tell your nephew. If he doesn't come deal with me, I'll go into town and demolish your pharmacy. I'll be waiting." His shop workers showed up with a bamboo stretcher and carted father and son away like wounded soldiers. After calming down Mother Wong, I asked Little Tiger, the smartest of my beggar crew, about this nephew. Turns out he's the county sheriff, been in power 3 years, recently failed to get promoted, and has been acting like a petty tyrant ever since. Little Tiger suggested we send some people to handle it quietly. I waved him off. "A county sheriff? Please. This county has 2 sheriffs. He's not even the only one. People think he's some powerful figure, but in my world, he's background noise." Then came the actual purpose of my visit, meeting the mother-in-law. Mother Wong looked me over, clearly shocked that I wasn't bothered by her family's criminal background. "Village chief, you know we're relatives of a convicted official. Marrying my daughter could ruin your career. I'm a village chief of a widow settlement." I laughed. "What career?" "Now help me carry these groceries inside." I'd brought premium rice, meat from the garrison, fabric for clothes, and a whole pile of medicinal herbs. Mother Wong almost couldn't process it. In her experience, suitors came asking for a bigger dowry, not bringing gifts. And nobody pays for medical treatment, let alone shows up with free supplies. This is my first visit, and I didn't have much time to prepare. "Please don't think it's too little," I said, actually embarrassed. I'd asked my own mother what to bring, and she just shrugged and said, "No idea." "Thanks, Mom. Super helpful." She, the little sister, was watching Jia make eyes at me and internally combusting with jealousy. Apparently, the only reason Jia met me first was because she had eaten too much rice that day and was stuck on the toilet. She lost the love lottery to constipation. Life is cruel. Meanwhile, back at Old Son's pharmacy, the scene was apparently a comedy of horrors. Old Son was lying half dead in bed while his idiot son tugged his sleeve going, "Daddy, I want women." Then the son spotted Old Son's young concubine crying nearby, eyes locked on. Daddy can't move. Daddy's woman is my woman now. The concubine nearly had a heart attack. The nephew, sheriff's son, burst in, kicked the idiot into a corner, and demanded to know what happened. The concubine gave him a version so exaggerated it probably had special effects. He was furious, ready to march on my village. Then his informant came back with the intel. The guy who did the beating is connected to the military garrison. I'm told his face went through about 17 different emotions in 3 seconds. The garrison is the real power in this county. The new county magistrate is tight with them. Sheriff's son's own career stalled because of them. Picking a fight with me would be career suicide. His deputy advised making peace. Sheriff's son dismissed him, sat alone processing this information, until the concubine ran in. Your uncle woke up. He wants you to destroy Qinghe Village. Sheriff's son grabbed her wrist and said coldly, go tell that old fool the other side isn't someone we can mess with, but if he can't let it go. Sheriff's son's smile was ice. If the old man doesn't make it, well, that's what he has me for, isn't it? So basically, the nephew was already calculating how to inherit the pharmacy. Family love at its finest. After kicking old son and his idiot son out, I rolled up my sleeves and helped Mother Wang clean up her house. Noble, right? Future son-in-law of the year material. Then the sun went down, and we discovered this family was so poor they didn't own a single oil lamp. Total darkness. Couldn't see my own hand in front of my face. So there I was, fumbling around in the pitch black, trying to move furniture, and my hands kept landing on things that were soft and warm, and definitely not furniture. Sometimes whatever I grabbed just stayed still and let me squeeze. Other times it yanked away instantly. I had no idea whose what I was touching. There were 3 women in this house and 0 visibility. It was like a horror movie except the opposite. My heart was going crazy, but my brain was screaming abort, this is your first visit to your mother-in-law's house. So I announced I'd come back tomorrow when, light existed and made my escape. Mother Wang walked me out with both daughters, who were both suspiciously red-faced. After I left, I'm told the girls immediately ripped open the silk undergarments I'd bought them and started trying them on. Mother Wang shook her head and went to bed. But here's the thing. In the dark, while we were lifting a cabinet together, I accidentally touched Mother Wang's chest. Accidentally. She didn't say anything at the time. But apparently after I left, she lay in bed with her heart pounding, feeling confused and complicated emotions she couldn't explain. Ma'am, I am trying to marry your daughter. Please don't make this weird. Jia tried on her new silk bra by moonlight and discovered it had enhancement properties. Things that were already impressive became aggressively impressive. She could barely contain them even with clothes on. She lit a fire in the courtyard and saw her sister wearing the same thing, all sweaty neck and flushed cheeks and scattered hair looking like a painting. Jia suddenly realized her little sister had grown up in ways she hadn't noticed. Sister, you're bad, little she blurted out, then stormed back inside, leaving Jia standing there completely confused. Teenage girl drama. I understand none of it. Back home, dinner was a warm, happy affair. Having money changes everything. Mom was actually smiling regularly now. The 2 little sisters were giggling and playing because Mom gave them the night off from chores as a reward for working hard in the fields. Xiao Ning washed the dishes without being asked. Big sister Xiao Er was quietly sewing. Mom asked about my visit to the Wang family. How'd it go? Need me to step in? You're not getting any younger. Xiao Er looked up from her sewing. Big brother, if you marry the older Wang sister, how are you going to handle the younger one? They're identical. She'll get married eventually and move out. Problem solved. My 2 little sisters popped their heads up simultaneously. Brother, why not marry both? Are you crazy? What kind of family do you think we are? Mother Wang would never. Xiao Er cut me off with a smile. Actually, big brother, our family is rich enough now. In this whole town, who has more money than us? I think marrying both is perfectly fine. Stop. If Mother Wang hears this, she'll cancel everything. Internally, though. Look, in my previous life this was strictly fiction territory. But in this world, it's technically legal. Still feels morally weird. Let's just table that discussion. After dinner, Xiaoning demanded martial arts practice. She dragged me into the courtyard, and we went at it for over an hour, making enough noise to wake the dead. Jia had apparently put on her new outfit and snuck over to my house, hoping for some quality time. But she arrived to the sound of clang bang whack from the courtyard and waited outside for an hour. Nobody came out. She eventually gave up and went home, where she proceeded to have the most intense dream of her life about me. From what I gather, and I'm piecing this together from context clues, she dreamed about me showing up, being wild and unstoppable, removing her brand new silk bra, doing things that made her feel like she was melting, and just as dreamy was reaching for her skirt. Her mother's voice cut through. She might have a fever. Let her rest in bed. Oh, madam, I'll help you keep cleaning up. That was real me. I'd shown up the next morning to help with housework. Jia snapped awake, realized she was tangled in her sheets looking like a disaster, face white with horror, and internally screamed at herself. Wang Jia, why, you shameless woman. She threw on clothes without eating breakfast and sprinted out to help us clean, pretending absolutely nothing happened. Little sister Shi, who shares the bedroom, apparently spent the entire night listening to Jia make weird noises in her sleep. Before, her sister's sleep-talking was all, mommy, and little sister, annoying but cute. Now it was just sounds. She wanted to slap her. I noticed nothing. I was just moving furniture. Jia slept in late. I won't get into why, but let's just say she woke up looking guilty, and I'd already shown up to keep helping her mom fix up the house. The whole village was buzzing about how I'd beaten up old Sun the pharmacist yesterday. People couldn't believe I had the guts to smack around a guy with powerful connections. Yeah, well, powerful connections don't stop my fists. Jia Yi's mom had a little chat with her about me. Turns out Mother Wang realized those bandits I killed were the legendary Liang Mountain Outlaws, a group so dangerous that the previous dynasty threw mountains of money at trying to eliminate them and failed. When she heard I'd soloed the whole crew, she literally stumbled backward and collapsed onto a chair. Daughter, she said after recovering, do you understand how bright this man's future is? He could be promoted to regiment commander if he wanted. The only reason he's still a village chief is because of US. If he climbed the ladder, who'd protect us? She told Jia to cherish me and never make me unhappy. Noted, Mother Wang. Noted, little sister Shi brought me tea and called me brother-in-law. Progress. Then the two sisters huddled together, whispering and giggling. I caught them peeking at me from around corners. When I looked back, they both turned tomato red and fled. Teenagers, man. I snuck behind a tree to change my sweat-soaked shirt. Couldn't exactly strip in front of 3 women when I heard aggressive voices from the front of the house. The marriage bureau had arrived. In this dynasty, there's this lovely government office called the media office that controls marriages. They're supposed to help single women find husbands. In practice, they're petty tyrants who shake down vulnerable women for bribes and threaten to marry them off to mountain hillbillies if they don't pay up. Their leader, a middle-aged bureaucrat, waltzed in, sat down like he owned the place, and immediately started insulting the family. So, Mrs. Wang, your useless daughters still unmarried? Nobody wants them, huh? His deputy sneered. You're not trying to hold on to your land, are you? Rules say criminal families must marry off daughters at age and sell the property as dowry. No delays. Mother Wang tried to play nice. She brought out the food I'd just carried over and said her daughters had found a match, meaning me, so there was no need for the marriage bureau to keep visiting. They weren't having it. This wasn't about marriages. They'd heard Mother Wang's clinic was doing well and stealing customers from Old Sun's pharmacy. They were here to squeeze money and cause trouble. The lead official slapped the food off the table onto the ground. We're here to enforce the law, not eat your slop, his deputy. Think you can bribe us with pig food? She lost her temper. Look at all these gifts. My brother-in-law brought them. He's marrying my sister. H.A. Everyone knows the Wang girls are useless. Can't lift, can't carry. Who'd want them? You're obviously faking an engagement to delay. And you, little girl, you'll be marriage age in a few months. Keep running your mouth, and I'll marry you off to some mountain cave to feed wild boars. He ordered his men to slap Shi across the face. Jia jumped in front of her sister. Hit me, but don't touch her. Oh? Resisting the law? Should we bring the heavy shackles? I was in the backyard half-dressed. I frantically pulled my clothes on, checked 3 times that everything was properly covered. Did not need a public indecency scandal on top of this. Hopped the wall, grabbed my beggars, and came around front. The official looked me up and down. So you're the village chief? You know how many unmarried women are in your village past the legal age? Better start pushing them to register for marriage before we come with chains. Mother Wang, bless her, tried to warn them. She'd seen what I do to people. She kept glancing at the beggars arriving with clubs, eyebrows practically doing semaphore. Look behind you. Danger. Please stop talking. They did not stop talking. He's a bureaucrat? So what? I'm an official. I follow imperial law. One letter to the county magistrate, and I'll have his title stripped. They thought my silence meant fear. It did not mean fear. We're doing you a favor. 3 women living alone, pretending to be doctors, scamming people. You'll get what's coming eventually. Then one of his goons walked up and kicked over the medicine cabinet I'd spent all morning setting upright. Herbs everywhere. Bottles shattered. He sneered. Last time I used medicine from this dump, I had diarrhea for days. This woman nearly killed me. Let's just grab all 3 of them right now. Save everyone the trouble. Mother Wang watched her precious herbs, gathered one by one from every hillside in the area, scattered across the floor. Something broke inside her. She'd accepted her husband's political downfall. She'd accepted being a criminal's wife. But she was a healer. She helped people. And they kept destroying her life anyway. Yesterday's son's idiot son. Today these thugs smashing her pharmacy. She collapsed. Out cold. MOM. Both girls rushed to her. Jia held her mother and sister, tears streaming. The village women gathered, but were too terrified to approach. The officials looked even more pleased with themselves. Village chief brother, Jia finally called to me. She hated asking for help. Didn't want to burden me, but she had no choice. I pushed through, saw Mother Wang unconscious on the ground. Jia was pressing her pressure points, but nothing worked. I called for Shi to bring silver acupuncture needles, removed Mother Wang's socks, and stuck needles into the pressure points on her feet and palms. Everyone stared at me like I was performing witchcraft. 30 seconds later, Mother Wang's eyes opened. The village women went nuts whispering. The village chief knows medicine too? My chronic back pain has hope. Little Tiger from my beggar squad couldn't hold back anymore. You government bullies. Doing this right in front of Big Bro Yi. Want us beggars to rearrange your faces? The marriage official puffed up again. The law is the law. These women must. Then, from absolutely nowhere, a voice cut through everything. Is this how the court expects you to do your jobs? Sheriff's son. Old son, the pharmacist's nephew, the same guy I'd expected to come after me, stepped out from the crowd. I've been watching this whole circus. I thought you were diligent public servants. Turns out you're thugs. I think your career as a marriage official just ended. Plot twist of the century. The guy who was supposed to be my enemy just showed up to save. Well, not exactly me, but the situation. This was getting interesting. So Sheriff's son made his grand entrance like a movie villain who suddenly switched sides. His goons fanned out like a wave. And there he was, tall, green official robes, face carved from ice, strutting in with the kind of energy that makes grown men wet their pants. And I mean that literally. Some random patient in the crowd saw him and actually peed himself on the spot. Welcome to small-town politics. Now here's the backstory I pieced together later, and it's beautiful. Sheriff's son spent all night trying to figure out how to get on my good side after his idiot uncle picked a fight with me. First, he dealt with the important business of sleeping with his uncle's young concubine while the old man was unconscious in bed. Real family values, this guy. Then he couldn't sleep, so he raided his uncle's pharmacy cash register at dawn, bought a bunch of gifts, and rode straight to my village to kiss the ring. He shows up expecting a difficult negotiation. Instead, he finds the marriage bureau actively bullying the woman I'm about to marry. Right in front of me. Christmas came early for Sheriff's son. The marriage official's face went from, I am the law, to, I am deceased, in about half a second. He dropped to his knees so fast he probably got carpet burn. Sir, I didn't know you were coming. You should have told us. I'm not your sir, son said, cold enough to freeze lava. Yidu is a court-appointed official. What are you? How dare you disrespect him? The marriage guy's brain was short-circuiting. He couldn't compute this. Sheriff's son, the most powerful man in the county, was treating me like I was important? Me? The nobody village chief of a widow colony? He tried groveling. I didn't know village chief he had connections to you, sir. If I'd known. Sheriff's son didn't even look at him. He turned to me and smiled. Smiled. Like we were old friends. Village chief Yi, I'm so sorry. My people are poorly disciplined. This is entirely my fault for not managing them better. Inside, This man was doing cartwheels. He'd been agonizing all night about how to make amends for his uncle's stupidity, and the universe just handed him a golden opportunity to play hero in front of me. I could practically see the jackpot sign flashing behind his eyes. I knew exactly what he was doing, but I'm not stupid enough to slap away a hand that's reaching out to shake mine. So I played it cool. "It's nothing," I said casually. "Just some flies buzzing in my ear." Then I glanced at the marriage official. Though this particular fly seemed very eager to override my authority and forcibly drag away a woman who's already engaged. If all our dynasty's officials behaved this way, we'd lose the people's trust, wouldn't we? The marriage guy started shaking so hard you could hear his teeth chatter. He tried. "County Sheriff, please let me explain." "Explain your grandfather." Son kicked him across the yard like a soccer ball. That kick was from me as a concerned citizen of the dynasty. Then, and this was chef's kiss, Son pulled out paper and a brush, started writing right there on the spot, and announced, "I'm documenting everything and sending a recommendation to the county magistrate. Your career is over." The marriage official looked like someone had ripped his soul out through his nostrils. He spun around desperately looking for his own boss, the head marriage commissioner, who had just arrived. See, the commissioner had actually sent this particular nasty official to my village on purpose. He'd heard about me beating up old Son yesterday and figured he'd do Sheriff Son a favor by harassing my people, help the Son family save face. Classic bureaucratic brown-nosing. Except he brown-nosed the wrong direction entirely. The commissioner showed up expecting to see his guy doing Sheriff Son's dirty work. Instead, he found Sheriff Son apologizing to me and firing the guy he'd sent. His face cycled through about 9 emotions, settling on, "Oh no," because here's the political math running through the commissioner's head in real time. Sheriff Son might have failed his promotion, but he's still Sheriff Son. His background connection is the state commissioner. The commissioner's own retired uncle was a small-time official whose influence evaporated the day he left office. Comparing his backing to Son's was like comparing a candle to a bonfire. And Son wasn't just protecting me on a whim. He was doing it because I was tight with the garrison commander, who was tight with the county magistrate, and apparently some big shot from another province was asking around about me too. The marriage official was panicking because without his government title, he was a dead man walking. He'd spent years forcibly breaking up families and dragging women to marriages they didn't want. Half the county wanted him buried in a ditch. Only his badge kept him alive. The commissioner squared his shoulders and prepared to step forward and beg for his subordinate's life. Not because he cared about the guy, but because they were distantly related, and if he didn't at least try, his own village chief would nag him about it forever. Small-town politics, everybody. It's turtles all the way down. Sheriff Son was putting on the performance of a lifetime. He ripped into the marriage commissioner like a dog that chewed his favorite shoes. "You think you can come here and lie to me? I know exactly how you people operate." The commissioner tried to fight back, but Qinghe Village was resisting lawful enforcement. "Shut up," Son practically exploded. If the guy hadn't been an official, Son would have kicked him into next week. He shook his head in disgust. "Your uncle retires, and I thought you'd grow up." "Nope. Still an idiot. A beloved village chief gets bullied by your people? I'm going to the county magistrate personally. Start packing. Your career is done." Then, smooth as butter, Son turned to me with a friendly smile. "Village chief ye, mind giving me a tour? I'd like to see how Qinghe Village is developing. The county should be doing more to support a community of women living on their own." I nodded and we walked off together, leaving absolute carnage behind us. The marriage official collapsed on the ground like a puppet with cut strings. The commissioner was so humiliated that after we left, he kicked Mother Wang's furniture in rage. "Bad move." One of Son's deputies stepped out of the shadows. "Excuse me, sir. My boss said damaged property must be compensated. Also, should I relay what you just said about the county sheriff being not a big deal?" The commissioner nearly coughed blood. He had to pay for the furniture he broke and swallow his pride. He grabbed a stick and started chasing his own subordinate down the road, beating him while running. Comedy gold. Meanwhile, Zhao Village's chief had heard that I was resisting the marriage bureau and thought this was his moment. He'd rounded up retired soldiers, grabbed weapons, and marched over planning to, I kid you not, assassinate me in the chaos. He arrived to find Sheriff Son holding my umbrella and ordering his men to bring me tea. The chief slapped himself across the face. Twice. Hard. just to confirm he wasn't dreaming. His village idiots asked, "Chief, what rank is a county sheriff?" "He's our sky. He's heaven. He can strike you dead with a wave. The sheriff is God." But the real gut punch came from his retired soldiers. One old veteran started trembling, pointing at me with a shaky finger. "Holy, that's the commander. The deputy inspector from the general's camp. You mean the one who led 300 elite cavalry through Turkic lines and rescued our entire unit from encirclement? That's him. I saw him once when I delivered reports to headquarters. Every colonel and captain treated him like royalty. They all turned to their village chief with murder in their eyes. Why the hell did you pick a fight with him? What if he brings veterans to destroy our village? You've doomed us." The chief's internal monologue was pure poetry. "Are you kidding me? You're that guy? Why are you playing village chief in a widow colony? That's like a dragon pretending to be a worm. If I'd known a county sheriff bows to you, I wouldn't have looked at you wrong with 1,000,000 lives." One guy in the crowd, Zhao the troublemaker, whose farmland I'd apparently caused him to lose to loan sharks, clenched his fists silently. Former commander or not, he still blamed me. That guy was going to be a problem eventually. Back in my village, the women were losing their minds. They scrambled to clean their houses and sweep the streets when they heard a county sheriff was visiting. But what really broke their brains was watching this powerful official, the man they'd normally have to kneel before, following me around like an intern, holding my umbrella, having his people serve me tea, nodding and smiling at everyone. What is our village chief's background? I thought he was just handsome. Did you see the sheriff yell at those marriage officials? Like scolding dogs. First the town chief brings us grain. Now the county sheriff visits personally. Qinghe Village is rising. Every time a woman tried to kneel before Sheriff Sun, I stopped them and said a curtsy was enough. Sun played along perfectly, all smiles. "Please stand. You've suffered. The government hasn't done enough. I'll make sure more support reaches Qinghe Village." Everyone's eyes drifted toward the Wang family house. The same women who'd cursed Jia Yi for stealing me now had a new opinion. That girl wasn't shameless. She was a genius with incredible taste in men. She was perched on a ladder staring at me from over the wall, completely ignoring her mother's orders to come help clean up the pharmacy. "Get down and work," Mother Wang yelled. "Work? What work? That official's compensation money is enough for 2 years of food. You brat. Stop. I want to watch my brother-in-law being magnificent." Jia Yi watched her little sister drooling over me and couldn't stay calm. She whispered to herself, "You do? What are you?" First the town chief delivers grain. Now the county sheriff shows up to play bodyguard. Tomorrow are you bringing the state governor? Are you going to tell me your last name is actually Li, that you're the lost crown prince? Because at this rate, how am I supposed to keep up with you? I figured Sheriff Sun was just putting on a show for my benefit. Smile, wave, look helpful, then disappear forever. Nope, this guy came prepared. His assistants had household registries, land records, the works. They measured fields, inspected houses, noted everything down, and started calculating tax reductions and government subsidies on the spot. I kept side-eyeing him like, "Who are you?" Then we got to the farmland, and he surprised me again. He crouched down and started pulling weeds for some old grandma. She froze mid-weed like someone had hit her pause button. Mouth opening and closing, no sound coming out. A county sheriff, pulling weeds, in her field. Her brain simply could not process this. I checked his hands, calluses, real ones. This guy had actually worked with his hands before. Which made me wonder, how does someone who clearly gives a damn end up with the reputation of being the most hated man in the county? Then he started talking farming economics, and I realized this dude was actually smart. He explained that our region's problem wasn't just drought. It was saltwater soil from being near the ocean. Regular crops would never thrive here. Instead, he suggested our women grow medicinal herbs, wolfberries, jujubes, mulberries. Women are better with delicate work. The profit margins are higher than grain, and nobody else in the region was doing large-scale herb farming yet. If you corner the market, he said, you can negotiate premium prices with drug merchants. Your village stops depending on government handouts. The government collects more taxes, and your career moves upward. He even gave me detailed planting instructions. I was genuinely impressed. "Have you told other villages this?" I asked. He deflated. "Yeah, nobody listened. I actually got demoted for pushing the idea. Lost my promotion to county magistrate's assistant. I understood immediately. His plan was good, but had fatal flaws for this era. Nobody trusted new crops. The growth cycle was too long, so people would starve waiting. And even if it worked, where would you buy grain during a famine when transportation costs are astronomical? Classic case of a young, ambitious guy running ahead of his time and getting punished for it. I didn't tell him all that. He'd been helpful today, so I returned the favor. I shared a technique from my previous life that could solve some of his problems. His eyes lit up like fireworks, and he pulled out a notebook, scribbling frantically. After his people called him back to the city, his deputy asked him on the road, "Sir, he's just a village chief. You could crush him with one finger. Why waste your time?" And now the marriage commissioner ran to the county magistrate crying about you. Won't that cause trouble? Son didn't even blink. You know nothing. The garrison commander personally announced that whoever messes with WIDOWS should watch their neck. That message reached every senior official in this county. WIDOWS is the garrison's money tree. Touch him and you're fighting the entire military. He paused, looking back at me in the distance. Besides, that method he taught me, if it actually works, forget bowing to him. I'd call him daddy. Before leaving, Son gave me the deed to old Son's pharmacy in town, already signed. Over to Mother Wong's name, guarantor and all. His uncle had been sent to the countryside to retire. Translation: banished so the nephew could steal his concubine without interference. I accepted it. The farming technique I gave him was worth at least that much. He also promised government subsidies for house repairs and land redistribution, though I didn't let myself get excited. I knew this guy perfectly well. Today he's my best friend because I'm useful. The moment I'm not, he'd stomp on me without hesitation. So I played the game, smiled the smiles, and felt absolutely nothing. His men unloaded a mountain of gifts, and he bolted before I could object. I had the beggars haul everything back to the village while passers-by gawked. The sheriff left him presents. These widows hit the jackpot with that village chief. Man, I shouldn't have starved my wife to death. She was from Qinghe Village. Could have gotten us connections. That last comment was dark. Real dark. Welcome to famine-era morality. I grabbed some of Sanzhou's famous Qinghe sausages from the gift pile, legendary smoked sausages that supposedly impressed an emperor centuries ago, and brought them over to the Wong house. I walked in to find she getting beaten with a broom by her mother while clutching her stomach and whining about being hungry. Classic scene. Here, kid. Local specialty. I handed her the sausages. Her eyes went huge. Wait, brother-in-law, how did you know I'm the younger sister? Because your big sister told me she never gets hit. Sister is a liar and a bad person, she pouted, then bit into the sausage and instantly transformed into pure happiness, eyes squishing into little crescents. Thank you, brother-in-law. Jia watched me from across the yard. The same guy who'd been chatting with high officials an hour ago was now on his knees hammering loose nails back into her medicine cabinet. I could feel her smiling at my back. I spent the afternoon sorting scattered herbs, fixing cabinets, and doing handyman work. Look, when you're trying to marry a girl, you do chores at her mom's house. That's universal across all timelines. Then, just as things were getting peaceful, because the universe refuses to let me have a quiet afternoon, the marriage commissioner limped back through the gate. The same guy from this morning. Except now he looked like he'd been through a war. Fresh lumps on his head, walking crooked, face like a man who'd been crying for hours. He was back. And this time, I had a feeling he wasn't here to cause trouble. The marriage bureau came crawling back. Literally. That official didn't even wait for his boss to finish talking. He hit the ground knees first the second he walked through the gate, forehead banging the dirt like a woodpecker on caffeine. Village Chief Yi. Madam Wong. I was blind. I was stupid. Please forgive me. Slap, slap, slap. He started hammering his own face, so hard his teeth loosened and his cheeks turned into eggplants. All while maintaining perfect eye contact and a desperate smile. Truly horrifying to watch. I glanced at him. You only offended me and Mrs. Wong. His beaten face somehow smiled even harder. All right. The young ladies too. He spun around to the sisters. Please, noble Mrs., I beg your forgiveness. She hid behind Jia like a frightened rabbit. Jia, soft-hearted fool that she is, immediately forgave him. He kept slapping himself anyway, just to be safe. I ignored him entirely and went back to sorting herbs. Eventually, he realized he was scaring away Mother Wong's patience and slithered out. After he left, Mother Wang pulled Jia Yi aside, whispered something, and Jia Yi came trotting over to me. Village chief brother, Mom says since that pharmacy in town was given to us, she wants to go run it. But she says she's just the manager. You're the real boss. Boss? It's your family shop. Consider it my wedding gift. Jia Yi expected this exact answer. Her mom had already told her, if he refuses ownership, just hold the money yourself. Since you'll belong to him eventually, what's the difference? Then she raised a concern. Mom's worried about getting cheated by herb suppliers. She's always picked her own wild herbs. She doesn't know the market. She has me. Whatever she needs, I can supply it cheaper than any merchant. This was true. My secret system catalog had herbs at wholesale prices that would make drug dealers weep. While nobody was looking, I grabbed Jia Yi's hand. Soft as silk. She checked for witnesses. Mom busy, sister distracted. Then blushed and let me hold it. We were in the disgusting honeymoon phase where you can't stand being apart for 5 minutes. Don't stare at me like that, I teased. I. She couldn't form sentences. Maximum cute. I told her about my plan for the village women to make straw hats from wheat stalks, a technique I'd learned in my previous life while working as a security guard with way too much free time. These Qinghe-style hats were flexible, durable, blocked sun and rain, worked as fans, and could even double as seat cushions. Perfect cottage industry for a village full of women with nimble fingers. You know how to make hats too? She looked at me like I'd just pulled a rabbit from my ear. What? You think I only know how to kill people? I grabbed her waist, pulled her close, and bit her cheek like she was a fresh apple. She squirmed, checked for witnesses again, and lightly punched my chest. You, bully. After sufficient canoodling, I dragged her to meet my sister Xiao Ning to discuss the hat business. Jia Yi's face went pale. I'm a little scared of her. Scared of what? Nothing. I just want to be a good sister-in-law. What she didn't say was that Xiao Ning looks at her like a cat looks at the person who stole its favorite human. But Jia Yi had decided. If the little sister-in-law hates her, she'll just work harder to earn love, which was noble and mature and everything I am not. We found Xiao Ning in the backyard, dead asleep on a haystack with the big white cat snoring next to her. When she's sleeping, she actually looks like a proper lady, sunlight dappling through the leaves onto her peaceful face, a tiny smile playing on her lips. She's really pretty when she's quiet, Jia Yi whispered. Give it 30 seconds, I said. Right on cue. Leaf Xiu Ning. You lazy little wretch, where are you hiding? Mom's voice shattered the morning calm like a hammer through glass. What happened next was Olympic-level deception. Xiao Ning launched off the hay like a spring-loaded trap, eyes still closed, and somehow located a pitchfork. She started stabbing the haystack with insane energy, pretending she'd been working this whole time. MOM. I'm not slacking. I'm sweating buckets out here. She sprinted to a tree where she'd hidden a water gourd, dumped it on her own head. Instant messy, sweaty hair. Then resumed furiously attacking hay. Mom walked over, squinted suspiciously, grunted, and left. The moment Mom was gone, Xiao Ning started using the pitchfork to stab an imaginary enemy in the haystack. Why do you little punk? Prepare to die. HY. Take that. She backed up, charged, and drove the pitchfork deep into the hay pile. The entire stack shook violently. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. That haystack was me in her mind. Does she hate me that much? Jia Yi's face was complicated. She's probably still half asleep, talking nonsense, but she was clearly thinking. If this girl treats her own brother this violently, what chance do I have as a sister-in-law? I patted Jia Yi's head reassuringly. Don't worry. While I'm here, she won't dare touch you. Jia Yi pulled my sleeve with a serious face. Things between me and her. Let me handle them myself. Don't interfere, brave woman. Walking into that lion's den voluntarily. I respected it, even though I gave her about a 15% survival rate. Jia Yi was determined to face my demon sister alone. I tried to stop her, pointing at the pitchfork that Xiao Ning was currently using to murder an imaginary version of me. But this girl had the courage of a woman walking into a volcano wearing a paper suit. I can handle it, she said, chin up, fists clenched. Are you seeing the pitchfork? Your job is to handle the outside world. My job is to handle the family. If I can't even manage one little sister-in-law, what good am I as your wife? Then she hit me with the full speech. The one that made me realize ancient women are built completely different from modern ones. I know you're amazing. You do someday you'll probably marry a prime minister's daughter or a princess as your main wife. That's fine. I just want to stay by your side and not cause problems. I'll be your warm, safe place to come home to. I'm your first woman. No man forgets his first, right? She said all this with zero bitterness, like she was stating facts about the weather. In my previous life, if you told a girlfriend, I might marry a princess someday, she'd launch your PlayStation out the window. This girl was basically saying, go ahead. I'll wait here with dinner. Then she kissed my cheek, told me I was a light in her family's darkness, and marched straight towards Xiaoning and her murder pitchfork. I held my breath. This was it. The showdown. Future sister-in-law versus the human tornado. And then, nothing happened. Oh, hi Jai sis. You're here. Xiaoning smiled. No hostility. No death threats. Not even a dirty look. She acted like Jia was a neighbor dropping by for tea. All that build-up for nothing. Turns out Xiaoning's rage was directed entirely at me. She had zero problems with Jia. My sister explained her situation with perfect teenage logic. Mom hates me. She says if I'm not useful, she'll marry me off. So I have to keep working to prove my value. Unless I can make money for her precious son, she spat that word, she'd happily kick me out. No marriage official needed. Jia pitched my straw hat idea. Xiaoning was stunned. Sis, are you dumb? My brother took advantage of you, and now you want to work for him? You're his first woman. You should be sitting on the heated bed like a queen, doing nothing. That's what lazy wives do. I chose your brother, so I work beside him. He's incredible. Let's work together. We'll make the family rich. Xiaoning considered this. Look, I know my brother's talented, but I'm Yi Yuan's daughter too. I'm not worse than him. I want to try my own way first, and if my way fails, then yeah, I'll come make hats with you. Deal? They shook on it. No fighting, no tears, no passive aggression. I was so relieved I almost cried. I quietly snuck away to find my little sisters. I found them in the fields, tiny humans wearing homemade willow branch hats decorated with wildflowers, swinging miniature hoes with all the seriousness of seasoned farmers. A squad of beggars had split into two teams, one on lookout, one helping the girls work, telling jokes to keep them entertained. My little sisters were giggling between hoe swings. Big brother, we've got this. It's just a little weeding, these kids. So small, so hardworking, so devastatingly responsible. The universe had no business making children this mature. It's hot. Stop working. Time for lunch. Big brother. When the marriage people came to Mrs. Wang's house today, Sheriff's son came again and gave us sausages. Can we eat them? I sighed internally. That sheriff's son, terrible human being, but an excellent politician. He'd even thought to bribe my baby sisters with snacks. Every detail covered. Yes, you can eat them, but never accept anything from strangers when I'm not around. Got it. Yes, SIR. Both nodded vigorously. Little Tiger spoke up. Boss, it wasn't the girl's fault. The sheriff literally shoved the sausages into their hands and wouldn't take no for an answer. Fair enough. But I needed to make sure success wasn't changing my sister's character. Staying humble when you're poor is easy. Staying humble when the county sheriff brings you gifts? That's the real test. I grabbed both girls by the hand and headed home. We'd barely taken 3 steps when Wang Laowu's wife came sprinting toward us, gasping for air, followed by Wang Mengzi and a whole mob of guys looking absolutely furious. I thought, oh great, Mengzi's having another episode. This kid can't go 3 days without causing drama. I opened my mouth to tell him off. Then he threw himself face first into the dirt at my feet. Big bro, ye just kill me. Please kill me. I closed my mouth. That was not what I was expecting. What happened? I asked, looking at Wang Mengzi face down in the dirt begging me to execute him. Turns out, after I saved Wang Family Village, they'd been so grateful they launched a full village marketing campaign for my crab business. Told everyone in the region, Yidu buys crabs. Bring your crabs to Yidu, and it worked. Wang Laowu collected nearly 500 pounds of crabs in my name this morning. 500 pounds. That's a lot of angry pinchy boys. Then Wang Mengzi, helpful little idiot, volunteered to escort the delivery. Stopped at a roadside tea stand. There was a pretty woman working the counter who said she was the owner's new wife. Mengzi, being a teenage boy who sees a cute girl and immediately loses 40 IQ points, bought everyone tea. It was drugged. They all passed out. When they woke up, crabs gone, tea stand robbed, the real owner and his worker tied up behind the building with a bag over their heads. My two little sisters heard, crabs stolen, and burst into tears. Not because of the money. They'd been desperately wanting to eat crab, but never asked because they knew I sold them for profit. Now some thief stole their unspoken dream. Their little hearts shattered. Wang Lao showed up, heard the news, and his soul visibly left his body. He sat on the ground repeating, "I lost Big Brother's crabs," like a broken record, then suddenly grabbed a brick and tried to chase the thieves. I caught him by the collar. "Stop!" The tea shop owner identified the thief, Zhao the troublemaker. The same guy from earlier who'd been silently swearing revenge on me because his gambling debts cost him his farmland. He'd set the whole thing up, pretty girl as bait, drugged tea, split into multiple escape routes. Sukin had already been on the case. He'd found the victims, woken them up, and chased the thieves on a donkey. Yes, a donkey, because our operation is extremely high-tech, but they scattered in every direction. Sukin also checked Zhao's village. House repossessed by loan sharks. Land seized, no sign of him anywhere. He'd planned this exit perfectly. Wang Mengzi was hopping mad, threatening to burn down Zhao's entire village. Wang Lao wanted to kidnap Zhao's relatives and execute one per day until he surrendered. I had to talk them both off the ledge. First of all, murder is illegal. Second, a guy like Zhao wouldn't come out of hiding even if you killed his whole family tree. Third, it's crabs. Calm down. The real problem wasn't the money. 500 pounds of crab at market price was maybe a few tens of thousands of coins. I could cover that from pocket change after my bandit bounty haul. The problem was reputation. I'd promised local fishermen I'd buy their catch. If I didn't pay up because someone stole the goods, nobody would ever trust doing business with me again. "I'll pay every fisherman the full price out of my own pocket," I announced. "And Su can keep your money. I gave it to you. It's yours." Wang Lao started punching himself in the head. Mengzi started slapping himself and kicking the ground. These guys really need to stop beating themselves up. Literally. But honestly, I wasn't that upset. Sure, getting robbed was embarrassing. But what I saw today was more valuable than crabs. When things went wrong, Mengzi immediately came to confess instead of hiding. Wang Lao was ready to fight to the death over my property. Sukin dropped everything to chase the thieves. These people genuinely had my back. You can't buy loyalty like that. As long as the team is loyal, money comes and goes. We'll recover. Then, because today's plot apparently wasn't done twisting, Zhao Village's chief Lu showed up. The same guy who'd been plotting to assassinate me just this morning. He was accompanied by his retired soldiers and looked like a man being marched to his own funeral. Wang Mengzi immediately charged him with a stick. The Wang village boys grabbed bricks. Things were about to get ugly. Chief Lu turned white and tried to flee, but one of his own veterans stuck a sword sheath into his lower back and physically pushed him forward. His own soldiers were forcing him to apologize to me. Eyes squeezed shut like a man jumping off a cliff, Chief Lu bowed and said, "Village Chief Yi, we heard about the Zhao troublemaker situation. He's from our village. It's our failure. I've rounded up every single one of his relatives and brought them here." He paused. "Whether you want to beat them or kill them all, they're yours to deal with." Well, that escalated quickly. I was confused. Chief Lu from Zhao Village had been plotting to kill me this morning, and now he's bowing like I'm the emperor? Then I saw his retired soldiers staring at me with the glazed eyes of fanboys meeting their celebrity crush. That explained everything. These old veterans recognized me from the army and had literally forced their village chief at sword point to come apologize. Lu was a tough guy, an outsider who'd clawed his way into becoming chief of a village he wasn't even related to. But against a squad of veterans poking a sword sheath into his spine, he was a kitten. Zhao troublemaker's relatives were dragged and looking like they'd already been through a meat grinder. Turns out they'd tried to resist when Lu arrested them, and the old soldiers had enthusiastically corrected their attitude. Several of them looked like they had about one breath left in their bodies. Lu made his pitch. "Village Chief Yi, these are Zhao's relatives. They've been profiting off his crimes for years. Why not seize their houses and land to cover your losses? I'll handle the paperwork personally." Classic political move. He wanted to use my anger to settle his grudges with these families, then sell me the favor. The relatives were shaking like leaves in a hurricane. "Please. We cut ties with that animal ages ago. We'll help you catch him." I looked at Lu and said, in my most righteous voice. I'm a village chief, not a bandit. I eat government salary and follow imperial law. Seizing people's property? How uncouth. Everyone exhaled. Even Lu looked relieved. Then I continued. However, Zhao committed this crime. You're his family. You share responsibility. When he's captured, your village will provide the executioner. Lu, you kill him. Personally. Before Lu could open his mouth, his own veterans shouted. Our chief said he'll do it himself. Lu's brain made the Windows error sound. If he personally killed a man named Zhao in a village full of Zhaos, he'd have blood feud problems forever. He'd need MY protection to survive, which meant he'd become my puppet permanently. But with armed veterans behind him and armed beggars in front of him, what choice did he have? Fine. When you catch him, I'll handle it by village law. You sure? Killing someone without court approval could get you in trouble. For a beast like him? I'd gladly go to prison. Beautiful. Now I owned him. Then I turned to Zhao's relatives. As for you all, sign a debt note for 100,000 strings of cash. Dead. Silence. You could hear a leaf hit the ground. Every eyeball in the crowd expanded to maximum diameter. Wang Mengzi's hand was clamped over his own mouth. Lu froze like someone had cast a petrification spell on him. They'd expected me to be harsh. They did not expect me to be the actual devil. The village chief Yi. Isn't that a bit much? Lu stammered. I didn't even look at him. I looked at Sukan. Sukan stepped forward, cool as ice. Do you have a choice? On cue, beggars and Wang village boys whipped out weapons. The message was crystal clear. Sign, or we settle this a different way. Zhao, you deserve to die. His relatives screamed, not at me, at their absent family member who dragged them into this nightmare. We'll sign. We'll sign, Sukan's. Boys produced paper, ink, and brushes from nowhere. The beggars came prepared for contract signing, which tells you something about my operations professionalism, and everyone stamped their thumbprints. Sukan watched me with increasing admiration. I could see his internal monologue. This maniac. He told them he'd return the debt notes when Zhao is dead, but he never promised. They just signed away their entire lives. They're basically his slaves now. Brilliant. Terrifying. But brilliant. The money wasn't the point. 500 pounds of crabs was pocket change. The point was, mess with Yidu, and your entire extended family pays. That message would spread faster than wildfire. After everyone dispersed, Sukan pulled me aside. Old Yi, we need to train that bounty squad fast. My guys are amateurs. If they'd been faster today, we wouldn't have lost the trail. He was right. My beggar intelligence network was solid, but their legs were made of noodles. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains, Zhao Troublemaker had no idea his entire family had just been enslaved to me via debt notes. He was lying on a rock next to the gorgeous woman who'd played tea shop wife, catching his breath and complaining that he didn't rob his own relatives before fleeing. This woman, apparently, was recruiting him for some bandit stronghold called Hidden Dragon Fortress. She was dangling a leadership position. Once you're our chief, you won't need to steal from family. Just send men to take whatever you want. And honestly, I understood why every man who saw her lost their brain cells. Even Wang Mengzi, a teenager whose sole personality trait was angry, had willingly drunk tea from a stranger because this woman was serving it. She had a mature body, a baby face, and an outfit that showed just enough to short-circuit any male brain within visual range. Half her calves were showing. In this dynasty, that's basically nuclear-grade seduction. Zhao was already drooling. This man was going to be a much bigger problem than stolen crabs. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains, Zhao Troublemaker was drooling over his sexy bandit recruiter and making big plans. First thing I'll do when I have power? Kill you. Do second thing? Kill my village chief. The woman wasn't impressed. You stole some crabs, and you think that gets you into our mountain fortress? Boy, if stealing seafood was enough to become a bandit king, we'd have 1,000 chiefs. Zhao nodded like a bobblehead. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you say, ma'am. This guy was thinking with his eyeballs, not his brain. Back in my village, I sent Jia Yi home after our evening walk. She kissed my cheek and said, even if I became empress, you'd still deserve me. This girl's loyalty stat is maxed out. Then I started my new project, straw hats. Simple concept. Turns out, not simple at all. My hands in this life were built for swords, not arts and crafts. Every hat I made looked like a bird's nest that lost a fight with a lawnmower. Ugly, misshapen. An insult to the concept of headwear. I tried again, and again, and again. Days passed. My wall filled up with reject hats that I let the beggars take. Free ugly hats for everyone. Meanwhile, the bounty squad recruits arrived from the surrounding villages. I didn't throw them into combat training. Phase 1 was standing still. Just standing. In a line. Not moving. Wang Mengzi was in his element. That kid finally found his calling. Hitting people with a bamboo stick. Anyone whose knees bent. Whack. Anyone standing slightly forward. Whack. Anyone breathing too loud, probably. Whack. He was the happiest violent teenager in the county. This became the town's biggest tourist attraction. People came from other towns to watch a bunch of men stand like fence posts while a teenager beat them with a stick. And naturally, the gossip started. Yidu hasn't done any bounty hunting in days. He told all the nearby villages to stop too. I thought he was going to be a big deal. Turns out he's just another guy who got rich and got lazy. Duh, someone stole his crabs. He's scared now. Those men standing in his village? Just expensive bodyguards. He's burning money sitting at home doing nothing. How long can that last? The bounty hunting trend I'd started had actually spread across the whole region. Every village was copying my methods, sending groups of men to catch bandits. Some were getting results, but they all burned through resources fast and were dying to see what I'd do next. When I did nothing, they mocked me. Even Qinghe Yu, the rich military officer who'd bought my bandit corpses, sent a representative to nag me. His man told Su Kan, "The court just ordered us to clear out more bandits. We need heads. Yidu's got the skills. Why is he sitting home braiding grass? Is he scared because someone robbed his crabs?" Su Kan, smooth operator, fed them a line. The standing training is a special technique. Revolutionary military science. You wouldn't understand. And all the other villages are hunting bandits right now. So the bandits are hiding. Why would our boss waste energy on scared criminals? He's building strength for one massive strike. Quit the BS. I heard he's literally just sitting at home weaving leaves all day. Then something beautiful happened. Qinghe Yu's old military servant picked one of my reject hats off the wall and put it on his head. He froze. "Sir, this hat is incredible." "What?" "It's light. It's cool. It breathes. It blocks the sun better than a bamboo hat. You can fold it flat, use it as a fan, even sit on it." The old soldier was getting emotional. I grew up farming. The sun burned my neck raw, skin cracking, peeling. If I'd had one of these, and the craftsmanship, this would take a skilled artisan. If these hit the market, they'd sell like crazy. Qinghe Yu's eyes started doing that thing where you can literally see money signs forming. Wait, this is why Yidu went quiet? He found a new gold mine. The servant nodded vigorously, then dropped the bombshell. "Sir, these could be supplied to the military. Training in summer? Field work? Every soldier in the dynasty would want one." Qinghe Yu nearly levitated. Military contracts. Massive scale. Guaranteed buyers. His family was rich, but even rich kids run low when they keep buying military credit from village chiefs with shotguns. "We need to talk to Yidu right now." Exclusive distribution deal. Su Kan stood in the background, watching carts full of wheat stalks being wheeled in from every surrounding village by his beggar crews, and smiled the quietest, most satisfied smile in the history of smiles. The hats weren't even good yet. These were my rejects, and the rich kids were already fighting over them. Wait till they see the finished product. So while I was in my workshop butchering innocent wheat stalks into increasingly less ugly hats, something absolutely insane started happening outside. Cripple's son, who I'd given authorization papers to handle sales, set up what was basically an auction without telling me. Merchants from all over the region had been drawn in by the beggars' marketing campaign, and now they were standing in a crowd, fighting over the right to sell my hats. Hats. Straw hats. Made from garbage wheat stalks that farmers were basically giving away. Cripple's son was doing his best impression of a confident businessman, which was hilarious because this man was a professional beggar 2 weeks ago. He stood there in clean clothes, first time in possibly years, and delivered a pitch that honestly impressed me. The craftsmanship is exclusive. Nobody else knows how to make these. Even if you steal the idea, training your own workers will take a year minimum, and they still won't match our quality. So we're selling exclusive distribution rights for 100,000 hats. One buyer gets the whole market. Pay a licensing fee up front, plus 30% deposit. Dead silence. Then Qinghe Yu, The rich military officer who'd been buying my bandit corpses shouted, 100 strings of cash. That's at least 100,000 copper coins. For hat rights. The crowd's jaws collectively detached from their faces. But because Qinghe Yu was from the ultra-powerful Qinghe family, everyone started thinking, wait, does he know something we don't? Is this thing worth more than we thought? Before Cripple Sun could respond, a voice cut through like a sword. 200 strings. Everyone spun around. Some young guy in black warrior clothes rode up on a gorgeous horse, looking like he owned the entire county. Qinghe Yu recognized him instantly and went red with fury. What are you doing here? You're from Hunan province. Go finish your mission and go home. The stranger smirked. Business is business. Check your wallet before you check my schedule. 210. Qinghe Yu shot back, practically strangling his own belt. Then the regular merchants jumped in. 215. 220. 280. Sukin was standing on the sidelines, heart pounding, internally screaming. Oh my god, old. Why is a genius old, why is a god? 300. The stranger dropped it like he was ordering tea. Casually. Like 300 strings of cash was pocket lent. The merchant's brains collectively melted. 100 strings per bid? This guy was insane. This was clearly someone who'd decided to win at any cost. Qinghe Yu was doing desperate mental math. He'd scraped together maybe 250 to 300 strings total, including selling jewelry. Years of savings and family allowances. And this stranger just blew past him like he wasn't even there. Here's the thing about Qinghe Yu. He was a branch family kid from the Qinghe clan. Already got in political trouble, exiled to this backwater, burning family money buying military credit. His big brother had just written him a letter saying the family was cutting off his funding. He needed this deal, not just for the money, but for the connection to me. He knew I'd been a deputy inspector in the army with connections that made his family name look like a library card. He looked at me with desperate puppy eyes. My beggar snuck over and whispered the bidding numbers in my ear. I almost choked. 500. I was expecting maybe 50 strings for this. Tops. You people know these are hats, right? Not the imperial jade seal. For context, 1 acre of farmland costs about 1,000 copper coins in this economy. These maniacs were bidding hundreds of acres worth of money for hat rights. I walked over and tried to be responsible. Everyone, this is a real business deal. We'll sign contracts at the county office. If you can't sell the hats, that's your problem. We don't do refunds. Qinghe Yu seized the moment. See? You're being crazy. 350 strings. The stranger didn't even blink. 500. Summer heat. Everyone went cold. Not a single person dared bid again. 500 strings. 500,000 copper coins minimum. For exclusive rights to sell something that didn't fully exist yet, at a price per hat that hadn't even been set. Qinghe Yu sat down on a hay pile, looking like someone had stolen his soul. He muttered something about this being the most humiliating moment of his life. Meanwhile, the local peasants watching this circus were having full emotional breakdowns. Are those wheat stalks really worth that much? They're crazy. Wait, they're all rich nobles. Rich people don't go crazy with money. Those beggars bought all our wheat stalks for pennies. We've been robbed. Yidu is the worst. Making money and not sharing. Watching rich people throw hundreds of strings at his product while I sold my stocks for a few dozen coins. I literally want to die. Sukin had quietly bought up every wheat stalk within miles through his beggar network. Paid basically nothing. Now those stalks were the raw material for a product being auctioned for 500 strings. The profit margin was so absurd it was almost criminal. Qinghe Yu pulled me aside. Senior, be careful. That kid is from Hunan province. Who knows if he actually has that money? Plus he's been causing problems with our garrison commander. I nodded, but wasn't worried. An outsider wouldn't dare scam me on my own turf. But I was thinking hard. My hats were good, but they were not worth 500 strings for exclusive rights. Nobody spends that kind of money on straw accessories unless they want something else from you. This stranger wanted something beyond hats. He wanted me. The young man watched Qinghe Yu slink away and sneered under his breath. A discarded Qinghe family branch kid thinks he can compete with the Invincible Flying Army. The Invincible Flying Army. That was an elite military unit. This was the guy from the inn. The one who'd bought my military file from the garrison and paid 50,000 coins just for my name. He wasn't here to buy hats. He was here to buy me. Cripple Sun handled the contract like a pro. The mysterious stranger put down 50 strings as a deposit. non-refundable if he backed out, and took the paperwork to review. He walked over to a scruffy old Taoist priest sleeping under a tree. "Priest Wang, check this contract and the hat." The old man woke up, examined both, and sighed. "Only 100,000 hats? Shame. If it were several 100,000, our invincible flying army would make a fortune. The drought's got the sun blazing every day. Comfortable sun hats would sell themselves. But honestly, the hats aren't why I told you to spend this money. Then why did I just blow 500 strings?" His training method. The priest pointed at my recruits. "That is worth any price." The young commander squinted at my guys standing in formation. "You're joking. He's got them standing around like fence posts. How is that special?" The old priest nearly slapped him. "Look closer, you idiot. Those were useless farmers 2 weeks ago. Now look at their eyes. There's killing intent forming. Look at their posture, immovable as mountains. Their movements are synchronized. Their discipline is razor sharp. If our flying army learned this method, we'd jump an entire tier." The commander looked again. Then he compared my recruits to his own veteran soldiers, half of whom had hunched backs and sloppy posture. My farmers looked more military than his soldiers. When Wang Mengzi called out, "Left face," and 30 men snapped in perfect unison, the commander's jaw actually dropped. He whispered, "If an entire army moved like that, you wouldn't even need to fight. The enemy would run from the sight alone." Then reality crashed back in. Their situation was desperate. They were an elite unit called the Invincible Flying Army, chasing a massive gang of Liang mountain bandits who'd fled from Hunan province into our territory. They'd already failed to catch the first wave, which I'd killed. A second, larger wave was hiding in Phoenix Mountain, recruiting and planning something big. If this commander failed again, his career was over and his legendary unit might get disbanded. He had 1 month before headquarters pulled the plug. "Even with his training methods, we don't have time," the commander groaned. "And we just spent our last military funds on hat rights." The old priest smiled mysteriously. "Those 30 men are enough. Combined with our forces, we can wipe out Phoenix Mountain. 30 guys? Quality over quantity." The priest had a plan. But he also had a second problem. They'd spent everything on my contract and had nothing left for rewards or bounties. The commander offered to sell his personal farmland, property he'd earned through years of battlefield service. The priest refused. "There's a cheaper way." He nodded toward Chueyu. "Let's go talk to the Chui family reject." Meanwhile, I'd set up a tea table and invited Chueyu for a consolation drink. Just because some outsider outbid him didn't mean I could disrespect a Chui family member, even a disgraced one. I needed to keep all my relationships warm. Chueyu was pretending to be cool about losing, but inside he was seething. Still, he was smart enough to see the silver lining. I'd invited him for tea, which meant I valued him. And he'd helped drive the price up, which was technically a favor to me. He figured if the stranger's deal fell through, I'd come to him next. He leaned in and whispered his intel. "That guy's a lieutenant colonel in the Invincible Flying Army. He can definitely pay 500 strings. But he's in deep trouble right now. I think the money was just to buy your goodwill, not for actual hat business." Chueyu was trash-talking the competition to my face, hoping I'd sour on the deal. Transparent, but I let him talk. Then the commander came back, marching straight at us. "Hey, Chui, stop bad-mouthing me." Chueyu exploded. "Don't you have money to go count? Why are you bothering me?" The commander dropped his bomb. "I'm offering to transfer you into the Invincible Flying Army. Same rank, same record, plus 1 free military achievement right now." Chueyu froze. "Why would you do something nice? Talk to Priest Wang. He'll explain." The old priest stepped out from behind the commander. He looked like a homeless person cosplaying as a Taoist. His robes were filthy, his whisk was a tangled mess, and Cripple Son from my beggar squad actually thought a rival beggar had wandered into our territory. "Blessings, blessings," the priest said serenely. Chueyu burst out laughing. "You're the Firewell official for the Flying Army? I once met the real master, Grandmaster Yuan. How do you compare?" The commander's face went nuclear with embarrassment. Grandmaster Yuan was a legend who walked in and out of the imperial palace like it was his living room. Comparing this greasy hobo priest to Yuan was like comparing a puddle to the ocean. Before the commander could defend his priest's honor, the old man lunged forward and slapped Chueyu with an open palm. I felt the energy from where I was standing. This wasn't a normal old man. His internal power was terrifying. "Chueyu, To his credit, threw a punch back. He was a Qinghe family warrior, after all. Crack. One sound. Chui Yu's arm dislocated. The priest kicked him flying. So, ready to chat now? The priest spat on the ground and wiped his greasy hands on his robe. I had to bite my cheek to keep from laughing. This old man had zero social skills. Chui Yu cared about dignity more than anything, and the priest had just beaten him up and rubbed dirty hands on his face, leaving oil smears. Chui Yu's expression went from angry to pale too. He started crying. This is bullying. You're an elder beating up a junior. At least fix my arm. I stepped in, grabbed his shoulder, popped it back into place with one twist, and said calmly, if he'd used full force, you'd have lost the arm entirely. Chui Yu huffed. A warrior can be killed, but not humiliated. Keep this up, and I'm walking. The priest got serious. Chui Yu, I know you've discovered where the Liang Mountain bandits are hiding in Phoenix Mountain. That's why you came to hire Yidu, but a job that big, you can't handle it alone. Give it to our flying army. Chui Yu's face went white. How did you know that? The priest smirked. So, I was right. You tricked me. Chui Yu pointed at him, shaking. You didn't know. You just guessed, and I confirmed it. And now you know what I'm capable of. The priest chuckled. Chui Yu went quiet. Calculating. He wanted to refuse. Giving away bandit intel meant giving away military credit. But the priest had just demonstrated that these people were on another level. I decided to step in. A job this size. Your flying army can't swallow it alone either, can it? The young commander opened his mouth to argue, but the priest grabbed his arm. Because standing next to me was Su Kan, grinning like a fox who'd just found the henhouse key. The priest understood immediately. This negotiation was about to get very complicated, and the guy with the biggest smile was going to be the hardest to deal with. The young commander finally cracked and laid his cards on the table. Fine. We're an expeditionary force far from home. Low on men, low on supplies. We can't take the bandits alone. That's why we're here throwing 500 strings at your hat business. I appreciated the honesty. Military guys who speak straight are my people. His greasy priest sidekick who kept trying to look mysterious? Less my type. Okay, I said. But if you're this desperate, why should I work with you instead of the local garrison? They're right here, they know the terrain, and they've got resources. The commander puffed up like a rooster. The garrison? Those washed-up has-beens who've never seen a real battlefield? A bunch of paper pushers buying fake military credit? We are the invincible flying army. We fight 10 to 1. We die for the emperor without blinking. What can they offer you? Dirty money? Priest Wong was frantically tugging the commander's sleeve like, shut up, shut up, shut up, because the idiot had just insulted the garrison. And Chui Yu, right to their faces. Chui Yu was about to detonate. This jerk had offered him a job 5 minutes ago, and was now calling him useless trash. Just as Chui Yu was about to explode, I coughed once. One cough. That's all it took. Chui Yu froze mid-rage and looked at me nervously, like a dog that heard its owner's footstep. Both the commander and the priest noticed this and thought, interesting, one cough and a Chui family member sits down. This village chief has serious presence. I put on my most dignified face. Sir, I won't allow you to insult my business partner. Because, I looked at Chui Yu. He straightened up, chest out, chin raised, radiating see? Someone appreciates me, energy. His internal monologue was probably, that's right, tell them, Senior Yi. I'm a somebody, I continued solemnly. Because I'm really, really broke. And my partner, while completely useless in every conceivable way, is extremely rich. Chui Yu almost fainted. Here's the beautiful thing, though. If the commander had called him useless, Chui Yu would have drawn a sword. But when I said it, he actually felt flattered. His brain went, Senior Yi thinks I'm worthless, but wealthy. That means I'm useful. He needs me. I'm basically indispensable. The commander tried again. Forget money. We're offering the goodwill of the invincible flying army. Do you understand what that means? Soldiers would kill for our recognition. I shook my head without hesitation. I don't want goodwill. I want money. Both the commander and Priest Wong went completely still. Their brains blue-screened simultaneously. Someone had just refused the honor of the most legendary military unit in the dynasty. Because he wanted cash. Chui Yu's shoulders were shaking. He was trying so hard not to laugh. I let them suffer for a moment, then said, but since you're broke, let's try a different arrangement. You want Chui Yu in your army, right? Give him the exclusive hat distribution rights. Let him represent your unit in this partnership. He and I work well together. You get to test his abilities. I get a reliable local business partner, and everyone makes money. Once money flows, everything else falls into place. My real thinking was simple. The flying army would leave the moment their mission ended. Poof, gone bye-bye. But my hat business needed to keep running. Qinghe was local, connected, and desperate enough to work hard. Much better long-term partner. Also, and this was the beautiful part, the commander had paid 500 strings for the distribution rights. If he handed those rights to Qinghe per my suggestion, that meant he paid, but CYYU and I would profit. The commander would essentially be funding our business while getting nothing but a warm, fuzzy feeling. The commander realized this exact math and looked at me like I'd just stolen his wallet while shaking his hand. Senior Yi, I don't think you fully understand what our army's friendship is worth. He wanted to refuse, but his own priest pulled his sleeve and stepped forward. We accept. We'll transfer the distribution rights to Qinghe and write his military transfer papers immediately. The commander stared at his priest like he'd been betrayed. Priest Wang was internally sighing. His boss was too proud to see the bigger picture. Sure, they were losing 500 strings and the hat profits. But they were gaining a relationship with me, someone who could train soldiers, kill bandits, and apparently make money appear from thin air. One business deal was nothing compared to long-term alliance with a genuinely powerful person. The priest thought to himself, my commander thinks the flying army's goodwill is priceless. But in front of a truly strong person, our goodwill is the cheaper commodity. This looks like Yidu winning, but we're actually the ones getting the better deal. Smart old man. Greasy, smelly, socially catastrophic, but smart. I nodded, satisfied. Good. In 10 days, we march on Phoenix Mountain. The commander swallowed his pride and left with Priest Wang. You could practically see steam coming out of his ears. He'd just lost 500 strings and his hat distribution rights in one conversation. But the old priest walked away calmly, not even glancing back. Smart man. He understood the long game, even if his boss didn't. Qinghe sat there looking like someone had dropped a winning lottery ticket in his lap, and he wasn't sure if it was real. Senior Yi, I don't actually want to join the flying army. What good am I there? You're terrible. I agreed cheerfully. But with MY support? You'll be fine. His brain clicked. Oh, you want me inside the flying army as your man. Their soldiers need military credit just like the garrison guys, but there's more of them with bigger wallets. I'm your key into their market. And since I control the hat distribution, they can't throw me away. I'm holding their money pipe. Not bad for a rich kid. His brain works fast when money's involved. He had concerns about trusting the flying army and their sneaky priest. Why not just keep working with our local garrison? I waved it off. Worry about selling hats. I'll handle the rest. After everyone left, I gathered my 30 recruits for intensified training. The flying army had people watching us, but I didn't care. Let them watch. They wouldn't understand what they were seeing anyway. With 500 strings of fresh capital plus Qinghe's merchant connections, the hat business was going to take off. He had established trade routes, noble contacts, everything I needed. Far better infrastructure than a bunch of soldiers who'd be gone next month. I only needed to nail 2 things, production and training. Training soldiers? That's my specialty. But I had a secret weapon nobody in this century could imagine. I spent 50 strings in my system shop and bought a cardboard drone. Yes, a drone. The cheapest surveillance drone from modern warfare. The kind tiny countries bought by the thousands when they couldn't afford real military hardware. Made of cardboard and spite. Plus a screen to receive the video feed. And extra batteries. In this era, scouting mountain bandits meant sending men into dangerous terrain to physically look with their eyeballs. You'd lose scouts left and right, get fed false intelligence, and still have no clear picture. Even if I personally went scouting, I could only see what was directly in front of me. With a drone, I could map every inch of Phoenix Mountain from the sky. Bandit positions, escape routes, supply lines, troop movements during battle, all on a little screen in my hands. It was like playing a video game with cheat codes enabled. Assembly took about 20 minutes with the manual. I launched it over Qinghe Village for a test flight and immediately had a bird's-eye view of everything. Everything, including several young ladies taking baths in their courtyards. I may have, accidentally, taken a few photos for documentation purposes. Clearly, this was a security issue I needed to address. We're in a drought. Water is precious. Why are these women using whole tubs for bathing? This is a resource management problem that I, as village chief, must investigate thoroughly. Moving on. The batteries would last ages. With this thing, my bounty hunting operation just went from dangerous to almost unfair. Life at home was good. I had big sis Xiao cook rice and stew a massive pot of pork ribs. My two little sisters demolished 2 bowls of rice each for fist-sized rib chunks apiece, then attacked the apples I'd brought home. I seriously considered checking their stomachs for hidden black holes. Where does it all go in those tiny bodies? Mom wasn't eating much, though. The crab theft had spooked her, and village gossip was getting to her. People were talking, saying I'd gone quiet, lost my edge, was sitting around playing with wheat stalks while my business collapsed. Son, any leads on the crabs? I rubbed her shoulders. Don't worry, Mom. Small-time crooks always resurface. They're broke, they're stupid, and they'll spend their money fast. We just wait. I'd upgraded everyone's beds with woven bamboo mats. Not extravagant, but comfortable. Mom told me not to carry everything alone, that she could at least listen if I needed to vent. Sweet woman. But honestly, I had zero stress. The Phoenix Mountain battle would change everything. Between training sessions, I helped Jia Yi's family, leveling their courtyard, fixing beds, teaching her hat weaving. She was a complete beginner, and it was slow going, but she tried hard. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery never shut up. What's he even doing? He should just disband the squad. Our men have families. They can't stand around like statues forever. He supposedly sold hats for a fortune, but nothing's happened since. I'm so glad I sold. My wheat stock's cheap. Those idiots who hoarded theirs are sitting on worthless garbage now. Some of those idiots had stockpiled wheat stocks hoping to sell at inflated prices. When I didn't immediately ramp up production, they were furious. Their investment was rotting, and they blamed me personally. Even Lin Qinghe, Wang Laowu's wife, who worked in my household, was getting nervous. She told my sister Xiao, people in our village are complaining. Wang Mingzi's been beating them up to keep them in line, but this can't go on forever. Xiao, bless her blind loyalty, said, my big brother does big business. Trust him. I've worn the hats. They're really comfortable. That's my sister. Zero evidence. Maximum faith. I love her. Lin Qinghe, Wang Laowu's wife, came sniffing around after hearing about the hat operation. My sister Xiao let her try one on, and the moment it touched her head, you could see the light bulb explode behind her eyes. Cool in the sun. Light as a feather. Smells like fresh wheat. Doesn't give you that horrible heat-dizzy feeling while working in the fields. This woman went from, I'm worried about your brother's business, to, how do I get in on this, in about 4 seconds flat. Can't blame her. People in Wang family village were literally starving to death. Her useless husband told her nothing about what was happening at work. She was surviving on government-issued scraps of farmland and occasional sewing jobs for rich people. The hat workshop was a dream come true. Sit in the shade, weave straw, get paid, and they even feed you. White rice, meat soup, pickled vegetables. She was already calculating. If I eat less, I can smuggle food home for the kids. Xiao vouched for her, and she was in. No interview needed. Word spread faster than wildfire during a drought. When people heard my workshop provided meals and wages, women from every village within walking distance lost their minds. They pulled every string, begged every connection, just to get a spot weaving hats in my shed. And it was basically a shed. I'd had the beggars chop some trees and build giant grass roof shelters with bamboo fences around them. Women sat on mats inside, each one doing only one step of the process. Nobody learned the full technique. Industrial espionage prevention, ancient Chinese style. I couldn't take everyone, though. You had to be fast with your hands. Some women showed up and produced 1 hat in the time others made 10. Sorry, this isn't charity. Well, it is partially charity, but it's charity with quality standards. I sent the slow ones home. Some women came for 2 days, got dragged back by their husbands wielding sticks. My woman doesn't work outside the home. I stepped in a couple times, even punched a few guys, but I couldn't babysit every household in the region. If your husband wants you starving at home instead of earning money, that's between you two. We weren't short on applicants anyway. For the women whose husbands wouldn't let them come to the workshop, my mom arranged take-home work. Basic prep tasks they could do at their own houses for about 20 coins a day. Not much, but enough to buy porridge and keep kids alive. Even that became the most popular gig in town. Jia Yi instantly became the most important woman in the entire region. People showed up at her mother's house daily, kissing up, bringing gifts, hoping she'd put in a good word with me. She was too smart to interfere with my business decisions, but the foot traffic boosted Mother Wang's medical practice tremendously. Mom Wang was running between the town pharmacy and the village clinic, busy as a bee and loving every minute. Then Xiao Ning came looking for trouble. My darling sister had been stewing about something, but couldn't find me because I was never home anymore, eating with the bounty squad, training recruits, disappearing for hours at a time doing things. She couldn't even catch me for a conversation. So she cornered Jia Yi instead. Sis-in-law, you need to talk to Big Brother. Why is he hiring outside women? Keep it in the village. Jia Yi blinked. If they're hardworking and trustworthy, what's the problem? What's the problem? They'll steal our techniques. They'll learn everything and start their own business. Jia Yi shook her head. Xiao Ning grabbed her fingers and squeezed. You're his woman. You have to tell him things. Jia Yi nearly jumped out of her skin. I'm just a simple woman with long hair and short vision. I can't interfere with my husband's business. Xiao Ning wanted to scream. Her future sister-in-law was loyal to a fault. So loyal, she wouldn't even offer a mild suggestion. Useless. Adorable, but useless. Fine. Where is he? I'll tell him myself. He got a headache from the workshop ladies arguing and went to the training camp. Follow me. They marched to the camp, where Wang Mengzi immediately blocked them with a spear like a bouncer at a nightclub. I'm here for your boss, Xiao Ning barked. Mengzi squinted at her for way too long. Dutto, you're the second miss, right? This way. They found me lounging on a reclining chair, sipping tea sideways, looking like I didn't have a care in the universe. Xiao Ning's face turned purple. She'd been stressing about my business, losing her appetite over my problems, defending me against gossip. And here I was, lounging, drinking tea, relaxed. Big brother. You. Me, what? I grinned. She opened her mouth to unleash hell, and couldn't do it. The curse words formed a traffic jam at her lips, and nothing came out. She just stood there, fuming, while I sipped my tea. Being a big brother is wonderful sometimes. Aren't you worried someone will steal the hat-making technique? Xiao Ning demanded. Ah, so that's what this was about. Apparently she'd already complained to Mom, got beaten with a stick. Complained to Jia Yi, got politely ignored. Now she was coming directly to the source. Nobody can steal it, I said calmly. I taught myself just by watching you. If I can learn it, anyone can. She had a point there. My little sister was annoyingly talented. She'd watched me make hats a few times and started producing ones that were better and faster than mine, which was humbling and infuriating simultaneously. Come on, I sighed. Let me show you the workshop. Getting into the workshop was its own adventure. I'd hired 2 retired soldiers from Qinghe Village to guard the gate, one deaf, one blind. These 2 old monsters were absolutely merciless. They didn't care if you were my mother, the county sheriff, or the actual emperor. No badge, no entry. Xiao Ning had been trying to sneak in for days, and these 2 fossils shut her down every time. Every worker had an ID badge with a portrait on it, printed using my system, obviously, but everyone assumed I had a secret master painter somewhere. Xiao Ning was furious that big sister Xiao Er got trusted with recruitment duties while she and the little sisters couldn't even peek inside. Once inside, her jaw hit the floor. The operation had 4 separate preparation stages before anyone even touched a weaving tool: pulp extraction, straw splitting, bleaching, and dyeing. Each one was its own mini-factory. The bleaching and dyeing stations used special chemical solutions from my system catalog that nobody in this century could reverse engineer. Then came the actual weaving, 6 distinct techniques, each handled by different teams. No single worker knew more than one step. You could kidnap every woman in my workshop, and they still couldn't make a complete hat. Xiao Ning had thought she'd mastered hat making. Turns out she'd only been working with pre-processed materials I'd prepared. She was doing step 7 of a 12-step process and calling herself an expert, like someone who microwaves frozen dinners and calls themselves a chef. She didn't admit defeat, though. Even if they can't learn the prep work, what if someone steals the weaving patterns and sells cheaper versions? Then I upgrade the technology and crush them. You can upgrade. I have like 15 different hat designs, and the current production method is my most basic version. If competitors show up, I just level up and bury them. Her eyes went dinner plate wide. Then she started getting excited. So you could hire everyone. Build a huge workshop like in Guangzhou. Big fish eat small fish. And when we run out of straw, the trained workers can make raincoats, umbrellas, anything. I smiled. She was thinking big. Reminded me of those massive factories I used to guard in my previous life. Endless rows of sewing machines, hundreds of women working, industrial fans humming. But we were nowhere near that level yet. Capital, supply chains, government regulations, workforce management, all problems for future you do. Didn't you tell your little sisters that you're also dad's daughter and could find a better business than working with your sister-in-law? That was taken out of context. The little ones are liars. Zero hesitation. Didn't even blink. This girl lies like she breathes. Then she dropped her real pitch. Big brother, you're exhausted. Training soldiers and managing 200 women? That's insane. Sis-in-law is too nice. She can't discipline anyone. Let me run the workshop. You? The girl who gets beaten by mom 3 times a day. Mom beats me because she loves me and I love her. Getting beaten is totally different from managing workers. With workers, if someone causes problems, I just yell at them. If yelling doesn't work, I hit them. You need someone mean. That's literally my specialty. Big talk. Last week, I hired an experienced manager from the city who'd supervised 100 workers. Lasted 2 days before I kicked him out. My plan had always been to give Xiao Ning this job eventually. But I wanted to hear her actual strategy, not just tough talk. She was still a kid. Kids get excited, work hard for 3 days, then vanish. She surprised me. I observed the layout. 10 zones, 20 workers each. Sis-in-law and I split oversight, 5 zones each. Then we hold elections. Each zone picks a team leader. Leaders handle daily problems. If a leader can't fix it, it comes to me. I track daily output by team, compare numbers week over week, identify underperformers, help them improve or cut them. She paused. Sis-in-law does good cop, bonuses, praise, morale. I do bad cop, discipline, standards, accountability. She's the candy. I'm the stick. I blinked. This was actually a solid management structure. Delegation of authority, elected middle management, performance metrics, comparative analysis, division of emotional labor. Where did a teenager who gets chased around the yard with a broom learn organizational theory? It wasn't perfect. It was still pretty rough. But for this era, she was 20 years ahead of every workshop owner in the province. I was genuinely impressed, which annoyed me slightly. All right then, little CEO, how much do you want as monthly salary? I believe in paying people fairly. Even family. Especially family. If I squeezed my sister for free labor, her future husband would spend 30 years calling me a cheapskate at family dinners. Plus, giving her real money meant real status in the household. A girl who earns her own income walks differently than one who begs for allowance. Xiao Ning's answer was immediate. I don't want money. You don't want a salary? I'm family. Why would I take money from my own house? Besides, we're so broke you can't even afford a decent home for Jia. Have you no shame? And just like that, the shy, nervous Xiao Ning from 5 minutes ago evaporated, replaced by the snarky little monster I know and tolerate. The moment she knew I needed her, the attitude came flooding back like a dam breaking. In feudal society, younger siblings are supposed to be the older brother's loyal dogs. Where's my loyal dog? I got a feral cat with an attitude problem who bites the hand that feeds it. She grabbed Jiayi's arm and tried to run off for secret girl talk. I yelled after her. Get back here. What are you plotting? She looked over her shoulder with the most unbothered expression in human history. You're my big brother. Even if I punch a hole in the sky, you have to fix it. Then the two of them bounced away like teenage girls at a festival while I stood there, mouth open, wind blowing through my dignity. She wasn't wrong though. Whatever disaster she created would absolutely land on my desk. But credit where it's due. Once Xiao Ning and Jia Yi took over workshop management, my life transformed. Hat production skyrocketed. Inventory piled up beautifully. I was finally free. I moved into the training camp full-time and unleashed what I call my modern military boot camp from hell program. Phase 1, standing still, was done. Now came the real suffering. Extreme physical training. But I'm not a monster. Okay, I am a monster, but a smart monster. You can't destroy bodies without rebuilding them. So I pumped my recruits full of beef, plus some special supplements from my system, creatine for muscle recovery, and pre-workout energy boosters. The pre-workout stuff was amazing. More energy, less fatigue, the only downside being reduced performance in the bedroom department. But these guys were training 16 hours a day. Nobody had bedroom energy anyway. I designed personalized training plans for each man, monitored everything daily. When I took over direct coaching, anyone who failed got the whip. No motivational speeches. No, believe in yourself, nonsense. Just pain, improvement, or elimination. Out of 30 recruits, 18 survived. The rest quit, broke, or ran home crying. Good riddance. Those 18 were transformed. Moving faster, hitting harder, thinking sharper every single day. I documented everything: training methods, nutrition schedules, progression metrics. Future you would need this data. With these 18 men, I thought, my survival chances in this chaotic famine world just went from probably fine to absolutely dominant. On day 10, I gave everyone a rest day. No going home, but they could relax in camp. I treated myself to something truly decadent. Hot pot. I'm talking the full experience. Wagyu-level beef slices, tripe, pig brains, lamb rolls, exotic vegetables, all imported from my system shop, arranged on a little table like a feast for a king. In a world where people were eating bark off trees, I was dipping premium meat into spicy broth and living my absolute best life. Qinghe showed up to visit and nearly drowned in his own drool. He was a rich kid who thought he ate well. Then he saw my spread and realized he was basically a peasant with fancy clothes. Before he could beg for an invitation, I called out to a nearby tree, "Mengzi, stop hiding. Come eat if you're hungry." Wang Mengzi slunk out from behind the trunk, looking like a kicked puppy. He sat down, but wouldn't eat. Something was bothering him. Big bro Yi. Why wasn't I picked for the mission? There it was. I put down my chopsticks. Phoenix Mountain is at the border of 2 counties. Steep terrain. Unknown enemy positions. Hundreds of Liang mountain bandits who fought their way through government armies. This isn't a village brawl, but you killed 30 of them easy last time. That was 30. This is several hundred. You know the difference between 30 wolves and 300 wolves? The difference is you die 300 times instead of 30. You're an only child, Mengzi. If you die, what do I tell your father? Stay home. Guard the business. Build some capital. When you're ready to do your own thing, or keep working with me. Either's fine. Don't throw your life away. And oh, his head snapped up, eyes burning. Stop treating me like a useless kid. I want to live like you do. Big, loud, and fearless. I want to be a real man. I looked at him. Cold. Silent. Let him feel the weight of that stare. His body started trembling involuntarily. His knees almost buckled. Good. He needed to understand what he was asking for. Kid, I said quietly, every young man thinks he's the next legendary general. Every single one. And on the battlefield, most of them die as anonymous soldier number 400. 1 arrow, 1 sword gone. No glory. No story. Just meat. I leaned forward. Ask yourself honestly. Can you look at a human being and see nothing but dead weight to be cut down? Can you charge at someone who's trying to kill you without feeling fear? Real fearlessness. Not the stupid kind you showed on the mountain. The kind that comes after you've seen what death actually looks like. He was quiet. And one more thing. Nobody helps you for free. I'm barely surviving this mess myself. Why should I spend energy carrying you forward? What do you bring me that's worth the investment? The last line hit him like a physical blow. He'd been operating on hero worship, thinking that if he just admired me hard enough, I'd mentor him out of the goodness of my heart. There's no such thing as free love in this world, I said, glancing at Qinghe. Ask him. He's from the greatest family in the dynasty, surrounded by flatterers his whole life. Look how that turned out. Qinghe, mid-bite of lamb, froze with his mouth open, deeply offended but unable to argue. I wasn't being cruel. I was being honest. If Mengzi wanted to walk this path, he needed to understand the price, and he needed to bring something to the table besides enthusiasm and a loud mouth. Mengzi looked at Qinghe for help. Big mistake. Qinghe launched into a full-on TED talk about mentorship in ancient China. You know the imperial tutor, Songxian? The most powerful advisor in the dynasty? When he was a poor student, he copied books until his hands cracked and bled. He stood outside his teacher's house in a blizzard all night just for a chance to learn. Even after becoming the most important man in government, he still kneels before his old village schoolteacher. That's what earning a mentor looks like. And General Holin? A duke, war hero, served his martial arts master for over 10 years without complaint, and only learned the basics of Master Li's military strategies. Chui Yu turned to Mengzi with the tone of someone explaining math to a golden retriever. These are princes and prime ministers, kid. They suffered for decades to earn what you're asking for in 5 minutes. You're a farmer's son with no money, no connections, and nothing to offer except enthusiasm. You think Senior Yi should just hand you the keys to the kingdom because you asked nicely? Do you even know who he was? Before he retired, princes showed him respect. Mengzi dropped to his knees and started slamming his forehead into the ground. Not the polite ceremonial tap, full force. Blood streaked the dirt. 10 times. 15. He wouldn't stop. This is the last time I'll call you big bro. From now on, you're my master. I'll serve you like the imperial tutor served his teachers. My life is yours. If I ever betray you, let lightning strike me dead and my bloodline end forever. Heavy stuff for a teenager. I looked at this kid, bleeding forehead, burning eyes, trembling body, and thought about my own original body's journey. Joining the army in his father's place. Fighting the Turkic hordes. My old master used to pick promising young soldiers every month, hand them a small squad, and send them into enemy territory. Most died. I survived through skill, willpower, and dumb luck, through years of being outnumbered 5 to 1, 10 to 1, cornered, and almost killed more times than I can count. Out of all the candidates my master tested, the survivors who actually learned real military strategy could be counted on one hand. Nobody changes their destiny easily. Not nobles, not scholars, and definitely not farm boys. Get up, I said quietly. I'll take you on. I'll teach you what I know. But understand this. Once you're mine, everything changes. You're not a village chief's son anymore. I won't be polite. If I tell you to charge into death, you charge. No hesitation. Wang Mengzi greets his master. He didn't flinch. Chui Yu was trying not to laugh, his shoulders shaking. Kid, you realize you're nowhere near qualified to be his actual disciple, right? You're a trainee at best. An apprentice. Mengzi's face darkened, but that stubborn fire didn't go out. Then I'll prove myself until I earn it. I'll bleed for my master. I'll work until he has no choice but to acknowledge me. That actually shut Chui Yu up. He'd expected the kid to crumble. Instead, Mengzi came back swinging. Chui Yu thought, if he doesn't want him, maybe I'll recruit him. But he knew better. I wasn't rejecting Mengzi. I was pressure testing him. There's a difference. Congratulations, Senior Yi, Chui Yu said with a formal bow. You found yourself a diamond in the rough. Don't inflate his head, I said. Here's the truth I wasn't sharing. I wasn't giving Mengzi the real stuff. Not yet. He'd get basic military tactics, some combat techniques, enough to become a decent squad leader, maybe even a battalion commander if he had talent. The actual art of commanding armies? Of real strategic warfare? That was reserved for someone who proved themselves extraordinary. My old master made a duke serve him for a decade before teaching the fundamentals. I wasn't about to hand everything over to a teenager because he bled on my floor, but I could give him something to keep him alive. I reached under my chair and pulled out a modern stab-proof vest. Black, lightweight, made from materials that wouldn't exist in this world for another 1,000 years. Mengzi put it on. His eyes went wide, cool against his skin, light as silk. He tried pulling at it, couldn't stretch it. Tried pinching it, couldn't dent it. Let me see. Chui Yu couldn't resist. He pulled out a dagger and jabbed the vest. The blade bounced off. This is better than golden silk armor. Chui Yu's eyes were practically heart-shaped. If I'd known apprenticeship came with these perks, I'd have been on my knees first. The vest cost me 10,000 coins from my system shop. More than I'd ever spent on a single item. In my previous life, I was a security guard who couldn't even get standard-issue protective gear. Now I'm handing out military-grade equipment to teenagers. Life is weird, but Mengzi was going to Phoenix Mountain with us. Without that vest, one lucky knife could end him. This was life insurance. Mengzi knelt again, genuinely moved. I let him. He'd earned one kneel. I wasn't going to pretend these gifts were nothing. Then I turned to Chui Yu, who was still staring at the vest like it owed him money. Don't be jealous of a junior. Keep our partnership running smoothly, and someday I'll give you something even better. Maybe even one of my firearms. Chui Yu's entire body locked up. His eyes went supernova. He'd seen my shotgun shred 30 bandits. The idea of owning one. He bowed so deep his nose nearly touched his knees. Senior Yi, as long as I draw breath, your business is my business. Through fire, through water, 10,000 deaths couldn't stop me. Mengzi watched a Chui family nobleman prostrate himself before me and had what I can only describe as a religious experience. His brain finally computed just how far above normal people I actually operated. The look in his eyes shifted from, I admire this guy, to, I am in the presence of something I cannot fully comprehend. Good. That's the correct attitude for a student. Now, Phoenix Mountain in the morning. The night before we marched, the workshop was humming. Oil lamps burning, women weaving like their lives depended on it. Which, given the famine, they literally did. Xiaoning had whipped them into a well-oiled machine. Efficiency was up, morale was up, laughter was back in the village. My little sister was born to be a terrifying middle manager. Sukin had doubled the beggar patrols because more and more scumbags were eyeing our operation. My bounty squad helped with security too. Those 18 survivors were already intimidating enough that troublemakers scattered at the sound of their footsteps. A few weeks ago, I walked alone and people sneered. Now I walked with trained killers and people ran. The guys I'd cut from training kept following me around like stray puppies begging for scraps. Village chief, give me another chance. I've been practicing at home. I can. Run like the wind. I told them to go find Sukin for work. No spots on the combat team right now, but there'd be another selection later. On their way to Sukin, some local thug approached them. Hey, Yidu rejected you? Come with us. We'll raid his village and split the loot. They beat him unconscious on the spot. My rejects might not be good enough for the squad, but their loyalty was absolutely genuine. Nobody touches my village. Mom came to find me that night. I thought she was going to beg me not to go. Instead, she led me to the village cemetery, where all the women who died without husbands were buried, with no family graves to go to. She pulled out a jade amulet from her pocket. Your father got this from a temple. Kept me safe all these years. Now it's yours. I held it. Cool to the touch, full of impurities, but somehow comforting. I thought about Dad, the old man who just checked out one day and left me with a house full of women and problems. Thanks, Pops. Real helpful. Mom, you keep it. It's your memory of Dad. She glared at me. I don't leave the house. What do I need protection from? You're the one running off to fight bandits. Your father's spirit will watch over you through this amulet. Put it on. I put it on. Then she hit me with the real conversation. Son, what are you actually doing? When you came back from the army, you said you were done fighting. Now you're running workshops, training soldiers, picking fights. What's the plan? I sighed. Mom, I don't have a grand plan. I just want you all to live well. Xiaoning said it right. Big fish eat little fish. If we don't get stronger, someone eats us. How far I'll go? No idea. But I promise I won't gamble with my life like before. Our family needs an heir, after all. Mom's eyes locked on. You know we need an heir? Good. Then the first thing you do when you get back is give me a grandson. Every widow in this village has children except my son. I'm embarrassed to go outside. Mom, you can't just say that. Why not? It's bad luck? I'll smack you, you little brat. Making babies is bad luck? Classic Mom. Next morning, we assembled in town with Commander Kuan Ying's forces. I finally learned his background. His family name was originally Yuan, a powerful Korean clan that had fully assimilated into Chinese culture over generations. His father was basically next in line to run the whole family. Kuan Yin himself was a decorated war hero from the northern frontier, handsome, well-connected, with a bright future. In a bigger city, noble ladies would be lining up around the block. Out here in Sangzhou, nobody even recognized his family name. His force was respectable, about 500 flying army soldiers, plus support troops. Combined with my 18 elite fighters, Chui Yu's retainers, and our support crew, roughly 700 to 800 total. Not bad. Then Kuan Yin saw Su Can and Little Tiger in my group. His face scrunched up like he'd smelled something dead. What is this? We're going to war, not a charity dinner. Why are there beggars in your unit? Before I could respond. And honestly, I wasn't going to bother. Chui Yu snapped. These are Senior Ye's hand-picked scouts. They've already surveyed Phoenix Mountain. Maybe open your eyes before opening your mouth. Kuan Yin looked at me for confirmation. I didn't even glance at him. He could figure it out himself. To his credit, he actually observed. And realized. Su Kan's eyes were razor-sharp, constantly scanning, reading everything. Little Tiger was carrying heavy gear through mountain terrain like it was a Sunday stroll, moving faster than soldiers with half the load. Priest Wang sidled up to Quanning. I misjudged them. Those beggars have exceptional qualities. Then Quanning noticed something else. My 18 men. A few days ago, they were standing like fence posts in a village square. Now they were transformed. Bigger. Faster. Moving in perfect sync through rough terrain, steps light and formation tight. Priest Wang interrogated his spies about what I'd been feeding them. When he heard, meat at every meal plus mysterious supplemental drinks, he shook his head in disbelief. Even our elite flying army soldiers don't eat meat 3 times a day. This village chief is absurdly wasteful. Feed men that well, and they won't want to fight. They'll want to go home and nap. But he let it go. He figured I was just a rich idiot who liked spoiling his troops. Whatever. They had a mission to complete, and then they'd be gone. We marched hard toward Phoenix Mountain. Half a day later, we stopped at a roadside station to rest. Parked nearby were a bunch of fancy carriages surrounded by rich, noble kids, standing under parasols. Writing poetry on a public board like this was a college campus and not bandit territory. When they saw an actual army marching past, instead of getting out of the way like normal humans, these poetry bros got excited and came rushing toward us. This was going to be annoying. Why aren't we blocking civilians from the military column? I frowned as a herd of rich kids came stampeding toward us. Yu shrugged. They're here for Quanning. You think he's going to shoo away free bootlickers? Sure enough, these minor noble brats swarmed Quanning like mosquitoes on a lamp. He stood there looking bored and superior, which only made them worship him more. In their minds, a man from the great Quan family of Liaxi should look down on them. If he'd been friendly, they'd have been suspicious. These kids were useful, though. When we crossed into Xian County, they pulled strings with local officials, cleared roads, arranged food and water, even got the county magistrate's own son involved. The magistrate's kid, young Master Su, literally raided government grain stores to feed our army and hired the best restaurant in town to cater at the rest station. Yu scoffed. This circus parade is supposed to be a military operation? If I were the bandits, I'd have fled to another province by now. Wang Mengzi nodded along. I smacked that attitude down immediately. Don't underestimate people. Quanning made lieutenant colonel for a reason. Moving 800 troops through someone else's territory? Stealth is impossible anyway. So he goes loud, keeps the troops rested, wins local support, and makes the enemy think he's an arrogant fool. That's deliberate. Mengzi nodded frantically. Yu, who'd been eavesdropping, turned slightly green realizing he'd missed the obvious. At the banquet, Quanning sat at the head table wearing silk robes and jade accessories, dropping poetry and political wisdom while the county magistrate personally poured his wine. Meanwhile, my team got a wooden plank outside the building with some mediocre meat on it. Yu bit into a pig trotter looking sour. Of course, the Quan family main branch gets the VIP treatment. I'm just a disgraced Chui side branch nobody. Stop whining, I said. Bragging about your grandfather's reputation is not the same as being impressive yourself. I didn't touch the food. It was garbage. Ever since I discovered the system shop's food section, my standards had ruined me for medieval cooking. Then Quanning surprised everyone by walking over to our sad little table with a wine cup, putting on his most respectful face, and delivering a speech about how critical my contribution was to this mission. He promised to report my achievements honestly and drank a full cup to my honor. Every noble kid in the room nearly fell off their chairs. The guy who'd been treating everyone like peasants was personally toasting some random village chief. I almost stood up to drink with him. Then Yu tugged my sleeve. I looked up and caught it, the tiniest flicker of mockery in Quan Ying's eyes. This snake. He wasn't honoring me. He was performing, making himself look humble and generous in front of an audience, while secretly laughing at the poor village chief who should be grateful for attention from a great family. I sat back down. I don't drink weak wine. I only drink my own. I pulled out a bottle of stuffy donkey liquor from my system shop, the kind of alcohol that should probably be classified as a weapon, and poured a bowl. Silence. Every face in the room went blank, then offended. This was Shan Wangzhou, the legendary offering king wine, brewed using recipes from the Han Dynasty, aged for years, one drop worth one tael of gold. And this dusty village chief just called it weak? Young Master Su marched over, wine cup in hand, radiating aristocratic indignation. Village Chief Yi, perhaps you're unaware, but this wine has been praised by countless scholars and poets. This particular batch was personally crafted by descendants of the offering king's household. Surely you haven't tasted anything finer. Everyone waited for me to crumble. I didn't blink. I said I don't drink weak wine. Don't twist my words, someone muttered. Obviously a country bumpkin who doesn't appreciate that offering king wine has a mellow body, aromatic bouquet, soft entry, and a lingering finish. I continued, not caring. This was actually becoming painful for them. Su had set himself up as the generous host, and my refusal was making him look bad, not me. His face was twitching. His fists were clenching. The noblemen were shaking their heads. This idiot thinks Kuan Ying's backing means he can disrespect the magistrate's son? Once the battle's over, he's dead. Su's father coughed pointedly from across the room, a signal to his son. Tonight is about Kuan Ying, not your ego. Su swallowed his rage. Fine then, Su said through gritted teeth, picking up the bowl of stuffy donkey I'd poured. Let me taste this superior wine of yours. He threw it back in one gulp. What happened next was the single greatest moment of the entire trip. Su's face went from smug to confused to volcanic red in about 2 seconds. His mouth opened, but instead of words, what came out was basically a dragon's breath, pure heat and suffering. His eyes rolled back. His body went rigid. He collapsed on the floor like a felled tree. Every sword in the room came out. Guards rushed forward. People screamed. They thought I'd poisoned the magistrate's son. Then, from the floor, Su whispered dreamily, "What incredible wine." Everyone froze mid-draw. Su was lying on his back, face the color of a tomato, grinning like he'd just seen heaven, mumbling about the greatest alcohol experience of his life. Nobody knew what to do. Swords slowly went back into sheaths. The room was dead silent except for Su, who was making happy noises on the floor. I took a sip of my stuffy donkey and said nothing. Even Kuan Ying was stunned by the Su kid's collapse. He'd been chugging the local offering king wine all night thinking it was the best available, and some random village chief just whipped out something that knocked the magistrate's son unconscious with one sip. After everyone left, Chui Yu licked the empty bowl longingly and worried. Senior Yi, embarrassing the magistrate's son in public? The Su family has serious power in this province. They could strip your title, don't care, I said. In times like these, drought, internal chaos, Turkic threats on the border, people like me are hot commodities. I wasn't going to grovel for some county magistrate's spoiled brat. Later that night, I noticed something interesting. Kuan Ying, who'd been stumbling drunk and needing people to hold him upright during the farewell with the nobles, was suddenly completely sober the moment they left. Sharp-eyed, steady on his feet, personally inspecting guard posts and camp security with Priest Wang. The drunk thing was an ACT. This guy was performing 24 hours a day. Even Chui Yu had to admit, elite family heirs who survive the power games. None of them are weak. Next day, scorching heat, the drought turning the world into a furnace. Kuan Ying chose a tree-lined route for shade and issued straw hats to everyone. My straw hats, that he'd fought so hard to control. Chui Yu was beside himself with glee. Senior Yi, look at them wearing our product. We're going to be rich. Before departure, I offered to sell him hats, and he sneered at me. Now his whole army's wearing them. Focus on the battle, I said. But the profit margins. Battle. We reached 7 Mile Ford at the base of 6 Dragon Ridge, our target zone. 6 mountain ridges crisscrossing each other, abandoned farmland on top, perfect bandit territory. Then Su the magistrate's son showed up again, with his entourage, and their private soldiers, and a bunch of other noble kids with their private soldiers. I counted roughly 300 additional armed men from these tourists. Chui Yu noticed too, Senior Yi. Something's off. We already scouted the area. They already scouted. So why bring a local mountain guide? And why do these noble kids have combat troops? Good question. I explained while studying my map. Chui Yu, think harder. These people saw our group is only 18 fighters. Would you bet everything on 18 guys against hundreds of bandits? Of course not. They found backup. Those noble kids aren't here for sightseeing. Their private armies are the real reinforcement. Chui Yu's face went red. He'd naively assumed Kuan Ying was dependent on us. They're keeping us around because they already paid 500 strings and don't want to waste it. Also, it's easier to watch us than worry about us causing trouble independently. Then I started thinking bigger. But wait, all this firepower for one group of bandits? This is overkill. Hundreds of elite flying army soldiers, plus 300 private troops, plus us, for some mountain outlaws? Unless there's something in Six Dragon Ridge worth more than just bandit heads, my merchant brain activated. If I'd gotten rich selling a few dozen bandit corpses to garrison officers, imagine what a massive haul could do. My eyes definitely started glowing. We marched all day. An old mountain guide named Old Sun, hired for 50 coins and the promise of 3 acres of farmland, actually proved useful, spotting hidden dangers I wouldn't have caught. While everyone was distracted, I launched my drone. Nobody noticed the tiny cardboard aircraft buzzing above the treetops. Information streamed to my handheld screen. That evening, camp was set up. Kuan Ying's people did professional work. Priest Wang handled everything efficiently. Good defensive positioning, proper sentries, solid logistics. Their military cooks were actually talented. The smell of meat stew wafting through camp was genuinely appetizing. Then came the petty move I'd been half expecting. They fed everyone except us. Kuan Yin, Su's group, the noble kids, every flying army soldier, all eating hot stew and fresh bread. My 18 men, Chui Yu's people, and I sat on the ground watching. Not a single bowl offered. This is outrageous. Chui Yu pulled dried meat from his pack and shoved it at me. At least eat this, senior. Mengzi stood beside me, stomach growling loud enough to echo off the mountains, face locked in proud fury. He refused to even look at their food. I'd been absorbed in drone data and hadn't noticed until Chui Yu spoke up. I glanced at Kuan Yin, laughing and chatting with Su's group over a feast, pretending we didn't exist. Deliberate. Obviously. In the mountains at night, you can't exactly order takeout. You either packed food, or you beg. It was designed to humiliate us into asking for scraps, establishing that we were subordinates, not partners. Su Kan, shameless legend that he is, had already handled it his way. He'd waltzed over to the Su family's cooking area, name-dropped that he was a distant relative of the Su clan, and smooth-talked them into giving him a pile of pig intestines and organ meats nobody wanted. He and Little Tiger dug a pit, built a fire, and were happily roasting offal like 2 hobos at a barbecue, having the time of their lives. The noble kids pointed and laughed at us. Look at them starving. And those beggars are eating pig guts. Hilarious. I thought Kuan Yin considered this guy important. I heard someone whisper. Turns out he's just a useful tool. Once the bandits are dead, he's nothing. I shook my head. I thought this Kuan Yin had real character. Turns out despite the polish, he's just petty. Must be the Korean blood, lacking Chinese generosity. The food snub was calculated. By allowing Su Kan to beg for scraps, Kuan Yin could claim he'd offered us food. See, we gave your people something. It was our fault for not asking properly. A gracious, ow, that was really a leash. Cute trick. But I had a system shop full of hot pot ingredients in my pocket, and a drone feeding me real-time intelligence that none of these clowns could dream of. Enjoy your stew, Kuan Yin. While you're playing power games with dinner, I'm mapping every bandit position on your precious mountain. Kuan Ying's master plan was simple: starve us into submission. No food, middle of the mountains, nowhere to buy dinner. Eventually we'd have to crawl over and beg. Sukin getting pig scraps was the generous escape route they'd left open. Come ask nicely, and we'll toss you bones like dogs. Yeah, no? Relax, everyone. I brought snacks. I had Mengzi crack open my pack, revealing a beautiful stash of canned meat and compressed biscuits from my system shop. I heated up the canned stuff over a small fire while everyone munched on the biscuits. The biscuits looked pathetic, dry little rectangles, but after a few bites and some water, everyone's stomachs expanded like balloons. Nobody was hungry anymore. By the time the hot canned meat was ready, they could barely eat it. Chui Yu was amazed. Senior Yi, is this secret military rations? The kind they only give elite scouts? You know how to make these? Just eat. Sukin had been happily chowing pig intestines, took one bite of my canned meat, and immediately abandoned his roasted guts like a man who just discovered fine dining after a lifetime of dumpster food. Over on Kuan Ying's side, Su the magistrate's son was sipping tea smugly. His bones are hard, refusing to bow. But give it 2 or 3 days without real food and he'll be on his knees calling us grandpa. His lackey agreed. Nobody's that proud when they're starving. Priest Wang was the only one who noticed something was off. We didn't look hungry. and there was a strange meat smell drifting from our camp that didn't match any military rations he'd ever seen. Nobody investigated, though. They all assumed we'd be broken by morning. After their people went to sleep, my night was just beginning. I drew a map on the ground and walked Qinghe Yu and Mengzi through tactical analysis of the terrain, enemy positions, and attack strategies until late into the night. Mengzi understood about 30%. His brain was basically overheating from information overload, but Qinghe Yu absorbed everything like a sponge. He later told me it felt like years of confusion suddenly clicking into perfect clarity. He didn't know I was feeding him stuff I considered elementary. Leftovers from my previous life's obsession with military history documentaries and strategy games. Over the next 3 days, the march slowed to a crawl because the noble kids couldn't keep up. Pampered rich boys on mountain trails move about as fast as pregnant turtles. A journey that should have taken 1 day took 3. Quanning didn't complain, though. He needed their private armies. I kept sending out extra patrols that were actually cover for my drone operations. Everyone assumed my guys were foraging for wild vegetables. In reality, I was mapping every inch of Six Dragon Ridge from the sky. On day 3, we hit the deep mountains. Old Sun the guide planted himself on the ground and refused to go further, kowtowing desperately. Nobody cared about one scared old man's instincts, which was stupid, because scared old mountain men usually know exactly what they're scared of. Quanning and Priest Wang charged ahead excitedly. I checked my drone feed. The terrain ahead was a death trap. Narrow passages, hidden vantage points, natural ambush corridors everywhere. Perfect bandit fortress territory. Then, sounds of fighting ahead. But not bandits versus soldiers. The clanging was soldier versus soldier. I rushed forward and found a standoff at a narrow mountain pass. Bodies of dead bandit scouts littered the ground. 2 groups of government troops were screaming at each other. Kuan Ying's forward scouts on one side. On the other side, Sangzhou's own garrison defense force, led by their vice commander, a guy from the prestigious Zheng family, plus their garrison general He Yan. The vice commander spotted Qinghe Yu and exploded. "You treacherous bastard! The Sangzhou bandits are our jurisdiction. Bad enough you won't fight them yourself, but you bring outsiders to steal our kills? Do you understand loyalty?" Every eye turned to Qinghe Yu. Quanning smirked. The noble kids whispered. Qinghe Yu's face went the color of a ripe tomato. He'd technically betrayed local military interests by helping the flying army poach their targets. He couldn't even argue back. He shuffled over to me and whispered, "That's the garrison defense vice commander, Zheng family kid, exiled from court like me. Behind him is General He Yan, the actual garrison commander. I think you've heard of him. No idea why they're here too." I studied both men. Real soldiers. Blood on their armor. They'd personally fought through that bandit outpost. They held their weapons like professionals, not aristocrats. These weren't political appointees playing soldier. These guys fought. Qinghe Yu tried diplomacy. "Brothers, this isn't my fault. The flying army has official orders from the Ministry of War to pursue these bandits. I'm just cooperating." The vice commander cut him off with a laugh dripping acid. "Don't play innocent. I heard about your transfer to the flying army. I thought you'd gotten lucky and came to congratulate you. Turns out you're a traitor selling out your own garrison, so that's what happened." Kuan Ying's flashy march wasn't just for the bandits' attention. The local military picked up on it too. And now they'd raced here to claim the kill first. Classic territorial pissing match. Then Quanning stepped forward, radiating maximum arrogance. "I don't care who you are. I have Ministry of War authorization to eliminate these bandits. Anyone blocking my path will regret it. 2 armies, 1 mountain, hundreds of bandits hiding somewhere above us, and the government forces were about to fight each other." This was going to be a disaster. A profitable, entertaining, absolutely predictable disaster. Quanning stood there in his shiny armor, silver spear gleaming, flying army banners snapping in the wind, delivering his "get out of my way" speech, while shooting me a death glare. He thought I'd arranged this roadblock, that I'd somehow contacted the local garrison defense force and set them up to ambush his march. His logic: my scouts had been deeper in these mountains than his, so I must have known they were here. "Buddy, if I knew these guys, why would I need you?" The 2 garrison commanders, General He Yan and Vice Commander Zheng, looked at Kuan Ying's sparkly armor and sneered. "A little lieutenant colonel thinks he's something special? What's your connection to Commander Li Doliang? The noble kids immediately jumped to Quan Ying's defense. How dare you speak to a member of the great Quan family of Liaxi? Liaxi Quan family. You mean those Korean refugees? A bunch of conquered losers barking on Chinese soil? Know your place. Quan Ying's elegant facade shattered. His family had clawed their way from immigrant nobodies to military aristocracy, and these two backwater garrison thugs just called them extinct nation trash. The rage was nuclear. Su, the magistrate's son, tried intimidation. My grandfather's student works at the governor's military office. You worthless. The two commanders barely flinched. Governor's office? So what? This is our territory. No transfer orders, no entry. Anyone who steps forward gets treated as rebels. You wouldn't dare. We're nobility. If even one of us walks out of this mountain alive, you're finished. General He Yin laughed. A cold, empty sound that made every noble kid's bladder tighten. Finished? Kid, we're deep in bandit mountains. We kill you all. Blame it on the bandits. And who would know? You think we haven't killed flying army soldiers before? We have. Dead silence. The nobleman trash talk evaporated like morning dew on a hot skillet. Then Quan Ying turned to me. You do whatever you want. Just name it. Drop this act. I gave Chui you the money, the distribution rights, the transfer papers, everything you asked for. If you want more, just say a number. I'll call my family. Don't humiliate me like this. I shook my head. This idiot was still convinced I'd orchestrated this standoff. His logic wasn't even wrong from his perspective, but his conclusion was completely backwards. If I had connections to a garrison defense force this aggressive, would I have wasted time negotiating hat deals with a pretty boy Korean prince? And more importantly, these garrison guys weren't bluffing. Real soldiers, blood on their armor, personally clearing bandit outposts. If pushed, they'd absolutely slaughter everyone here and right. Bandits did it, in the report. Some patron upstairs would make the paperwork disappear. Then He Yin lost patience. Last chance. Show me official transfer orders or get out. He raised his hand. From the trees, from everywhere, archers materialized. Dozens of them. They released simultaneously. Arrows rained down. Not warning shots. Armor-piercing bolts. The expensive kind that punched through metal plate like paper. 15 of Quan Ying's scouts dropped instantly. These were armored flying army soldiers. The fact that arrows took them down meant these garrison boys had military-grade armor-piercing arrowheads. Where did a supposedly broke, forgotten local militia get those? Armor-piercers? Sue's voice cracked like a teenager's. The noble kids who'd been puffing their chests 5 seconds ago were now shaking so hard their teeth chattered. Their brave trash talk about only needing one survivor suddenly felt very theoretical. These garrison troops weren't village militia playing soldier. They were killers with serious equipment hidden in the forest. More movement in the trees. Hundreds of shadows shifting. Nobody could count how many garrison soldiers were out there. Where did these nobodies get this kind of firepower? Someone whispered. The noble kids' brains were all computing the same equation. I came here to network, not to die. This was supposed to be a fun adventure where I watch real soldiers fight bandits and then brag about it at parties. Nobody mentioned armor-piercing arrows. Even Quan Ying went pale. He'd heard rumors about rogue garrison forces in remote areas, teaming up with local power brokers, ignoring imperial orders, running their territories like independent kingdoms. He'd dismissed those stories as exaggeration. Standing in an arrow storm, he was rapidly undismissing them. His flying army was elite, sure, but elite at plains warfare. Mountain fighting? That's exactly how the bandits had escaped them in the first place. Against entrenched local forces who knew every rock and tree, in a narrow mountain pass, with archers above and forest on both sides. This was a kill box. Quan Ying looked desperately at Priest Wang, who'd been quiet this entire time. The old man finally stepped forward, waved his hand, and a squad of elite shield-bearers emerged from the flying army formation. These weren't regular troops. They carried specially made rattan shields, light but incredibly tough, and I could feel internal energy radiating from them. Double-armored, steady-footed, clearly trained in martial arts. I'll give you one chance to leave, Wang said coldly. Don't test me. He Yin glanced at the shield unit and smiled the way a wolf smiles at a slightly larger rabbit. Oh look, the Firewell official came out to play. You think some fancy shields scare us? He raised his hand again. Another volley of armor-piercing arrows screamed down from the mountainside. I watched all of this from the back, arms crossed, drone data streaming silently to my handheld screen, thinking, these idiots are about to start a civil war while hundreds of actual bandits sit on the mountain above them, eating popcorn and watching government forces destroy each other. This was either going to be the dumbest military disaster in provincial history or the most profitable opportunity I'd ever seen. Possibly both. Everything went sideways in about 30 seconds. First, the garrison guys shot another volley of armor-piercing arrows. The noble kids scattered like startled chickens, screaming and tripping over each other. Sue, your father governs this area. How does he not know about these maniacs? Sue was dodging arrows while screaming back. If I knew about them, they'd be dead already. Priest Wong decided enough was enough. He ordered his elite shield. Wall forward, block the arrows. Then, and I have to give credit here, personally sniped General He Yin through the shoulder with a single arrow while He Yin was busy directing his archers. Then his scouts, who'd silently flanked the position, dropped a fishing net on both garrison commanders. Caught them like tuna. Vice Commander Zheng hacked his way free with a sword, but He Yin was trapped, bleeding and furious. Wang marched up and delivered his ultimatum. We're here for the bandits, not you. After the battle, we take one thing. You keep all the bandit heads. Deal? And don't try negotiating. The flying army answers directly to the emperor. Kill us, and you'll wish you were never born. Then Kuan Yin, because he's physically incapable of not blaming me for everything, turned and said, Ye do. Just name your price. Stop this game. I gave you everything you asked for. I shook my head. This beautiful idiot was still convinced I'd arranged this. Meanwhile, I was staring at 6 Dragon Ridge through my drone feed, seeing things that made my blood run cold. Then gongs. Dozens of them. From deep in the mountains. Mountain bandits poured out of the forest. But not the scraggly, poorly armed bandits everyone expected. These guys wore black robes with red headbands, moved in formation, and brought war machines. Siege crossbows. The kind mounted on wooden frames that fire bolts the size of small trees. Catapults. Actual stone-throwing catapults, hidden under brush piles, now being wheeled into firing position on the ridgeline above us. Siege crossbows plus catapults against infantry in a mountain valley. That's not a battle. That's an execution. Kuan Ying's pretty face went the color of old milk. His master plan had been, charge the bandits with our superior training. Hard to charge when giant rocks are falling on your head and crossbow bolts are pinning your soldiers to trees. Wang tried to run. Smart move, since his aggressive positioning during the He Yin capture had made him target number 1. 200 arrows came screaming at him simultaneously. But the old fraud actually had skills. He whipped his horsehair whisk like a net, caught the arrow cluster mid-flight, redirected them, and rolled through the gap into the shield wall. The soldiers guarding He Yin weren't so lucky. Turned into pincushions. He Yin himself caught 4 or 5 arrows through the fishing net and started screaming bloody murder. Kuan Yin grabbed his silver spear. How dare they shoot my soldiers? Charge. He took 2 steps forward. Then one of the noble kid's bodyguards, a traitor planted among the allied forces, picked up an armor-piercing bolt from the ground and shot Kuan Yin in the back. He went down screaming. Total chaos. His guards swarmed around him. The flying army went into death or glory mode, pushing forward behind shields. But these bandits were absurdly well-equipped. Many wore actual armor. They used the terrain perfectly, funneling the flying army into crossbow kill zones. Even Priest Wang's surprise attack, 20 elite soldiers climbing around the flank to burn the catapults with oil, only partially worked. They torched some siege engines, but were immediately overwhelmed. Vice Commander Zheng, still bleeding and dazed, muttered, the 6 dragon bandits. They were supposed to be in Hedong province. How are they back? With this much equipment, so that's what this was. The garrison guys hadn't been protecting bandit territory. They genuinely believed the most dangerous gang had left the area. They came to steal easy military credit from what they thought was just some refugee Liang Mountain bandits. Instead, they'd walked into the lair of the 6 Dragon Gang, a completely different, far more powerful bandit army that had apparently returned home and upgraded to siege warfare. Everyone had bad intelligence. Everyone had been cocky. And now everyone was paying for it. Chui Yu's face went through a fascinating emotional journey. See, Senior Yi? I told you I'm not the stupidest noble kid. At least I didn't walk into this. Shut up. Wang Mengzi stepped forward, jaw set. Master, you and Chui Yu retreat. I'll hold them off with the squad. Chui Yu nearly choked. Are you insane? Even General Li himself couldn't fix this. Run. He grabbed my arm to drag me away. I didn't move. I was watching the battle with the calm expression of someone studying a chessboard. My drone was feeding me real-time positions of every enemy unit, every gap in their formation, every weakness in their deployment. Run where? I said quietly. You think the retreat route isn't already blocked? Besides, didn't you say you wanted to get rich and get promoted? Look at all those siege weapons, all that armor, all those soldiers. That's not a bandit camp. I smiled. That's a gold mine. Chui Yu stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Senior Yi, this is not the time to. The flying army is getting slaughtered. Our allies are wounded. There's a traitor in our ranks. We're outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded by siege weapons, and you're standing here. Smiling, yes, because while every genius commander in this valley was panicking about what they could see, I had something none of them could imagine, a cardboard drone showing me everything they couldn't see. And what I saw was opportunity.